I wonder if it was a difficult decision.
What was a difficult decision?
Sparing your father's life.
I'm sorry, what are you talking about?
Well, you must have known it would implicate you, yet you couldn't bring yourself to do it. I'll admit, I always wondered if you had a line. I guess fortunate for us, the line you finally decided to draw points so clearly in your direction.
So you really think that I'm Kira?
No, I know it.
Well, if you're so sure, then why haven't you just arrested me?
Oh, because I don't do check light, only checkmate. But we'll be there soon enough.
Hello and welcome to Comic Book Movie Oblivion, the podcast about feature films based on comic books and comic strips that people have stopped talking about. We are your hosts, Jordan and Kumar, and joining us once again, a tall and unkempt youth. Long, dishevelled hair, a fondness for sweets, a penetrating and powerful intellect. But is he also the greatest detective in the world? Keep listening to find out. It is, of course, the Teen Titan, Ashwin Siva.
It's me. I'm back.
Welcome back.
Yes, our resident Shonen Jump expert actually has read more Shonen Jump than anybody I know.
On the face of the earth.
Well, tell us how many times.
Yeah, this was
I'm sure there's a few shut-ins in Japan that could probably challenge you for that
absolutely.
title.
No, this was the fourth time I've read Death Note.
That's amazing.
Wow. Okay.
Well, what are we doing this week?
Okay,
we're doing Death Note.
We're talking about Death Note again, the 2017
Netflix adaptation.
quote-unquote adaptation.
Pause the podcast.
Oh, well...
Don't fucking watch it.
Seconded.
Yeah.
Don't pause the podcast because you're not going to watch this film.
We're going to spoil it in a way that you're not going to want to watch it anyway. Mm-hmm. So here's the lead-up. We had Death Note the manga, 2003 to 2006. We had the anime, 37 episodes from 2006 to 2007. Mm-hmm. We had the two movies, which we covered in the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
Then there was another movie called L Change the World, which is a 2008 sequel to those two because of the altered ending is set in that gap.
I believe it takes place in the 23 days that L is still alive before he dies peacefully at the end of the movie.
So that was another little cleverness of that ending that they changed. They could actually fit another movie in there. Then there was a live-action TV series, 11 episodes. That was in 2015.
Oh, wow.
Then there was a thing called New Generation, which was like 3 web episodes. That was in 2016. There was like 20 minutes each. And then there was a movie called Light Up the New World, which was like the New Generation was a prequel to, and this was a movie that came out in 2016. So this is all happened.
Theatrical movie. This
Light Up the New World.
Okay.
It's just is like additional Death Notes, right? It's like other people getting hold of Death Notes because now we established these things can fall into the world and things can happen.
Yeah.
And there's also this cult of Kira, so people can play off all that kind of stuff.
Oh, so it's still the same world.
Yes.
Like, it's just chronologically later. It's not a new
I believe they're all sequels.
There was a one shot or something maybe 5 or so years ago about a guy selling one.
Okay.
Oh,
there was a volume 13 or 14 which came out 2 years ago of Death Note short stories by Ohba and Obata.
Oh.
But that doesn't affect any of this stuff we're covering because that's all. So anyway, we've had all this material, lots of source material.
Oh, yeah.
And then we get to this thing in 2017, which I guess was in development for a very long time.
Yeah, about 10 years. Whoa.
Right, yeah.
Well, it depends how you define development, but yes, technically in development for 10
The rights were out there, that people were coming and going from the project. Directed by Adam Wingard, who I don't know anything he did previously. I think he did one of the Blair Witch sequels or remakes or something.
I looked him up, but it's all just flown away, so nothing particularly memorable.
After this, his next feature was Godzilla vs. Kong, which is a movie I quite like. Written by...
he did the most recent one this year as well.
Yes.
Haven't seen that one.
Written by a couple of guys I don't know, and 3 people. And the third name on the list is a guy named Jeremy Slater.
Yes.
Who wrote the Fantastic Four movie in 2015. The Josh Trank one, the notoriously bad one.
Well, he wrote the first draft of that film. And apparently, this is what they always say.
Yeah.
The first draft is a lot better than what we got. I mean, Trank himself says we didn't get the movie that he wanted us to get.
Okay.
Notoriously on Twitter.
Is it a Dragon Ball Evolution situation with the suits?
With
Could
Fantastic
be
Four.
editing. Yeah, because they came in for reshoots and stuff. Because apparently Rooney Mara was wearing a wig in the final scenes. We'll get
Yeah.
to all that movie at
When
some
we do
stage.
it, we'll see Jeremy Slater again.
Yes.
No, but the Josh Trank went on Twitter and sort of went on a big rant, I think, about how it wasn't his vision and it had got screwed.
Well, this guy Slater also wrote Umbrella Academy and Moon Knight. Some episodes of those shows.
Umbrella Academy's not bad.
Yes.
And Moon Knight, of course.
Moon Knight apparently was okay. I haven't seen it, but
Is Umbrella Academy based on a comic?
yeah, absolutely.
You'd think I'd know that, hosting a
And
co-hosting a podcast about
yeah,
stuff
because we've
based
talked
on
about
comics.
it quite a bit, especially like when we talked about Shortcomings and some other. For some reason, that Umbrella Academy keeps coming back because people from that.
It's written by Gerard Way from MCR.
Yes.
Okay then.
Yeah. Yes. Because he wanted to be in comics before he became a musician. He was actually an intern, I think, at DC, and then he became a professional musician, and then he went back to comics. Anyway.
Well, sorry, it's time to stop talking about things that are way better than Death Note.
Yeah.
2017
Okay. So,
and start
but anyway,
talking about-
Jeremy Slater. So I mentioned those three, but he also did write the second Godzilla Kong movie, the one that just came out. And I haven't seen that,
Oh,
but he doesn't have a lot of credits. Like most of them, they're comic booky in some way or whatever. This movie stars Nat Wolff, brother of Alex Wolff. That's why they have the same nose and look exactly the same. But I'm thinking,
how can that? Oh right,
I'm thinking
they do look the same.
They look exactly
I wondered
the same.
why he looked so familiar.
and I'm trying to figure out what was Thanksgiving dinner 2017 like. Where they're sitting across from each other at the table. And they're like, what comic book movie did you do this year? 2017, he's like, I did My Friend Dahmer.
My friend Dahmer. Yeah.
And Nat Wolff, what did you do? I did a adaptation of Death Note that was apparently written by an algorithm, as far as I can tell. This absolute
It's
turd.
written by many hands.
Yeah. Okay. This movie has no...
Of course it is. They of course.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
wondered what I was watching it thinking, this guy
Why does he look
looks
so familiar? Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, this movie is set in Seattle. They've transplanted it to Seattle. Mm-hmm. There's no voiceover at all in this movie. I just want to point that out right at the top. Because
No
in
internal monologue.
the Japanese ones, they at least had moments that were plugged in there. Like, you had to have I win exactly as planned. That had to be in there, right? So you got to put in these occasional VOs. There's none in this movie. If you thought, I mentioned a few weeks ago that it was weird seeing, because Obata draws such distinct faces that you've read for 2,000 pages, when you see those Japanese actors that don't look like those characters, it's really discombobulating.
Right.
It's much more so this time around, or maybe less so, because none of the characters are the same.
Well, they don't have
in
the
any
same
way.
names.
No.
Yeah,
Except for-
I saw Death Note: The Last Name. That one, the first thing I noticed was like light. That's not light.
Doesn't look
Right,
like
it doesn't look like light. Well, it's hard to cast. Well, it's funny normally in a comic book adaptation, if the artist draws very generic faces, you don't notice what the actors look like. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's like Michael Keaton doesn't have Batman's face, doesn't have Bruce Wayne's face. You know what I mean? Whereas in Death Note, it's very clearly like these people don't have matching faces. They didn't cast people that look like their cartoon counterparts.
Well, it seldomly happens, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's lucky if you get someone like...
We've had occasions where it's like, whoa, that actor really looks the part.
Maybe in maybe not.
Yeah.
They
Oh,
do.
yeah. But, yeah, and this one, no. Okay, so this is it's set in a Seattle high school. It's full of edgelords. You start off with a slow motion sequence, very similar to Fast and the Furious 3 Tokyo Drift. We meet Light Turner is his name. He basically is helping the jocks cheat on their tests. He's doing their tests for them. This is how we're introduced to him. And then
He's doing their test for them, or is he doing their homework?
homework, but
It's
whatever.
their homework. He's doing
Yeah.
it. It's just to say that he's smart
Yes,
Yeah,
he's the
that's
smart kid.
because they can't write him as a smart character.
Yes, that's right. That's a good
Very
observation.
Astute. Very astute.
Yes, the writers can't write a character that's smarter than themselves. So
Yep.
basically,
That's right.
then we get the title card, Death Note, and we don't know what the Death Note is. If you're new to this, you're like, why is this movie called Death Note?
I think the very next shot is the
The next shot is the Death Note falling out of the sky. But isn't it slightly out of order? Shouldn't it have fallen out of the sky and then had the title card that said Death Note? Wouldn't that be more dramatic?
don't have a strong opinion on
Okay.
it. I did
Okay.
notice that this film has some interesting music choices in it.
Right. Couple of Australian songs.
Yes,
in
the
there,
the
right?
starting song is
Yeah.
"Reckless" by Australian Crawl.
Okay.
Good song. Doesn't fit the tone of the beginning of this movie at all.
Not at all. None of the songs in this.
No. What about when we talk about the final scene with the power of love? Because I'm your lady and you're my man. And what does this have to do with any discussion, anything that's happening on screen, the tone, the themes, anything?
It's just like they rolled a dice and just
Yeah.
and picked songs.
Bizarre. So bizarre.
Why would "Reckless" be the? It's just.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Don't know.
We see the cheerleaders.
Cheerleaders. We get bullies.
It's all
Cliche
very
bully
absolutely
scene.
cliched high school.
Bullies are beating up some kid. Like the girl Mia.
She's smoking during cheerleading
Yes,
practice.
she's on the top of the pyramid and she's got a cigarette.
And she doesn't smoke at any other point in the movie. She only smokes when she's doing cheerleading practice.
Well,
To prove that she's
'Cause
not
she's an
interested.
edgelord.
there's a lot of scenes in this movie where things happen one time, and you're like, they never happen again. Okay, so Mia sounds like Misa, right? So she interferes with the bullies. Light tries to intervene. He gets knocked out
Yep.
and found by a teacher. Like he's just unconscious. Out in the rain.
Yes.
Okay, so she didn't even help him.
No, instead he ends up in detention.
But then later she blames
reported
him.
it.
She reported it, but she just left him there, lying in the
she left him
rain.
in the rain. They were right by a door. She didn't drag him inside.
No,
what's
or didn't
more-
just stay with him until somebody.
No. And she threw him under. Well, she's not a very nice person, right?
No.
I mean, I suppose this is establishing. I mean, it also makes a point of telling us that she didn't just alert the teachers to the fact that he was out in the rain, drowning maybe in a puddle of his own vomit, but also that he had quote unquote walked into a pole.
Oh.
Like he hadn't.
Oh,
in other
okay.
words, he hadn't been.
Okay, I missed that line.
Yeah.
Right.
She said that she didn't.
Right.
She didn't dob in the guy that
Right.
punched him in the face. Instead,
Right.
she said he just.
But
walked
this is
in.
the guy that everybody hates, right? Really hates this bully.
What reason would she have to
To
not?
an insane level of hatred by everyone, the entire school population, which we'll get to in a minute. So he gets called to the principal's office because of this fight.
No,
because he
it's-
was unconscious.
No, because when he was unconscious on
Oh,
the ground.
they found his cheating test.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, no,
He
so
carries
they,
around-
they
Yes,
found him
yes,
knocked out and then they went through his bag.
Yeah.
No, it was out on the ground getting wet.
Oh.
And the teacher picks it up.
Yeah.
When paper gets wet, usually,
Yeah.
it becomes
In- in-
illegible.
in
Why-
like a-
why
it's-
pick it
it's
up?
a downpour.
Yeah.
Why pick
Why
it
are
up
you
and-
paying attention to this paper?
Worry about the student. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I
He
just
gets-
found that baffling.
He gets called to the principal office. Here we learn that his mother is dead. This comes out in some exposition.
And
in
the
this scene.
principal is like a hard ass, and he's like, "Oh yeah, just because your mother's dead doesn't mean I'm gonna be nice to you for like being sad. That's no excuse for doing people's
cheating.
homework for him."
Yeah.
But also, he's not cheating. He's writing their cheating.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's writing their homework.
Yeah.
For them.
But we don't know whose homework he's.
Well,
It's based on the web
They say
pages.
he's done
It's
it. They
not
say
tests.
they found like 17
Yeah.
kids' homework.
Yeah.
So not only is he doing homework, he's doing the entire class's homework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he changing up his handwriting among the? Are you graded on this homework?
I don't know. This is all.
This
Basically,
isn't university. I mean,
this
it's
is
not
all to
college.
establish that I'm not sure that he doesn't follow the rules. I guess. But anyway, he gets thrown in detention. This is like Light Turner gets thrown in detention.
So he's not at all
immediately
like-
we're like, okay, this is now we get our Ryuk appearing. Sorry, I should say the Green Goblin appears. And
Yeah.
He's knocking down shelves.
so so this is stuff starts flying off shelves. So like it's
They've
telekinesis.
given him detention in the science room with the most breakable objects.
Yes,
that I've
with all
ever
the
seen
beakers
in
and
one
stuff.
room.
Yes,
Well,
but
it's like crafts things too, because it's marbles and stuff that
Yeah.
falls down.
It's
from
like
the shelf.
it's like the front
It's a
half of the side.
combination
It's
science
like a
lab craft
classroom
room.
sized. It's twice the size of a normal classroom. The back half is just shelves,
Yeah.
easily pushable shelves with glass jars
And he's
full
the-
of glass marbles.
and he's the only one in there.
Oh, did we mention he's picked up the Death Note at this
He
point?
has picked up. Yeah, sorry, he fell out of the sky and he picked it up.
I want to take a moment.
And he
to
starts
talk
reading
about-
it in
Yeah,
the...
and it started raining, and there was like a big storm, and it was implied.
Maybe
that it was
implied, or
because
maybe
of
it's
the
just
Death Note.
Seattle rain. It's hard to say at this
Right.
the early stage.
But a lot of that kind of thing happens, though, Ashwin. You're right. We have a lot of environmental effects that are going on with the Death Note as in use.
Yes, like Stranger Things.
Right. But I don't associate that with Death Note.
No.
Well, okay, this is the point I'm getting to in this scene. Stuff starts, things go dark, stuff's flying off of shelves, this spooky demon appears, Ryuk. This is a horror movie. Now,
Yes.
they're trying to stage it as a horror movie.
Yes.
The whole thing is presented as a horror movie.
Yes.
Death Note is not a horror comic.
Yeah.
Not
I
at
would
all.
not say. I would say it's a mystery thriller.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to lean way into the horror thing in just a minute when Ryuk introduces himself and he's like, Ryuk is deliberately giving the book to specific people and wants them to write names in the book.
Yeah.
He's not a bored demon that just is going to see what some
Well,
random
he's not even
human
evil.
does.
He's not a bored extra dimensional entity.
Yeah.
Because we never really know. One of the things about Death Note is we never find anything out of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. No,
Well,
it's completely left ambiguous. He's another thing I hated about this is that there's a line a bit later on where he says every human that dies has the shadow of a god of death over them.
Yes.
Whereas in Death Note, they're just kind of there.
No, in fact, they only kill some people sometimes if
Yeah.
they want extra life. People's deaths are already preordained. They have a preordained death date.
Yeah.
Here, it seems like every person's death is ordained by a Shinigami.
Which would have to mean there's millions.
Billions, or
Billions.
something like that.
Yep.
They're just going from person
And
to person.
also, when
There's like 6 in the manga.
the Death Note, when you write the circumstances of a person's death in the Death Note, Ryuk makes it happen personally.
Well, does he? And, he does in the very end for sure, but in the first one,
I
does he-
don't think he does.
does
Yeah,
he
I think
cause
he's acting.
something?
I think he's being crazy and like pretending he's doing it at the end. I don't think that's actually him.
Oh.
I feel the opposite way. I think that line, under the shadow of a death god, is telling.
Because this first death that we get doesn't seem like he has any. It's just it seems like a chain of events happens. By the way, this is all. Look, if you'd never read Death Note before and you came into this movie, maybe you'd think, okay, there might be something here for you. But as soon as you see this first scene where he writes the name of the bullion and he writes decapitated, we get a Final Destination chain of events. Now, at this stage, we've already had 5, 6 Final Destination movies.
Yeah.
So,
You're right.
even if you've come into this as a horror movie fan and not a Death Note fan, you're like, this is a rip-off of Final Destination.
Yeah. I didn't make that connection, but you're right.
No, I haven't seen any of those.
But it's just like, oh yeah, it's like a
Because that's exactly what Final Destination is about.
Yeah.
It's where death is sort of a... If you escape death,
yes,
death...
gets
It's
you
like,
by some bizarre chain of events will, like some, almost like a Rube Goldberg kind
Yeah.
of sequence of events will cause you to be killed. And this, because in this scene there's a basketball, somebody drops a basketball in the street and then a woman has to brake and there's a car accident and then a ladder flies off the top of a car and he is decapitated exactly in the same way as David Warner in Omen 1.
I saw that too, except this is way less cool.
Way less cool, way super
Also,
gory.
Super gory.
This is where the movie lost me. Apart from all the other stuff before this, because they turned it. It's, as soon as I saw this, it's like, oh, it's a splatter gore.
Yeah.
It's a splatter
This is
gore.
the first 5 minutes of the movie. By the way, rated MA 15 plus in Australia. Ashton, you're almost 17. I want you to tell me your thoughts on the extreme gore
Extreme gore.
in these scenes.
It's not that bad.
Okay.
This happens, they're very short. We just see...
Well, we get a
definitely
close-up of
see
the
it.
head on the
I
ground.
couldn't believe
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
This is not Death Note.
No.
No,
In
not at all. There's no gore in Death
No,
Note.
and
People's
there's all
heads
the...
The worst is
It's a
you
show.
watch people.
It's all the
have heart
cursing,
attacks.
all that stuff in there. This is, we talked about in episode 1, Ohba was writing to a younger audience,
Yeah.
like, specifically, that's why he left the morality stuff out of it, because he was writing for Shonen Jump readers.
Yeah, it's like age group
Also,
is like 14, right?
In the Omen, David Warner's head is taken off by a pane of glass.
Yes, and it spins through the air,
so good.
and it's great.
Everybody go watch that on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right, you're back. now, the bully is decapitated by a ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
it
does
hits
that work?
the top half. Only the top half is
A ladder's particularly sharp.
No, but it's coming off a moving car, so on a suburban street.
It
which
should
I feel like
crush
would-
the head, not
Yeah.
decapitate. It wouldn't chop it
Wouldn't
off.
the car was going
No, I think
pretty
it-
fast.
I think it hits the because only the top half of his
No,
head comes off. I
it
think
cuts his head in half. I mean, a stepladder's...
Yeah.
No, I think it hits the bottom half of his head, and then the bottom half gets crushed and gets blown backwards, and then the top half is sent flying.
Seems a lot for a
Maybe.
blunt instrument like a ladder.
Yeah, it's
But who am I
hard
to
to sell.
Who am I to argue with the target audience?
Yeah, so anyway, here again, we're going into horror movie territory,
Yes.
right? This is not a...
You're completely
This is
right.
not a mystery.
We've got gore. We've got supernatural happenings.
Yes.
It's really the whole...
And like spooky...
It's really the whole kitchen sink, isn't it? We've got a demon, because we've got... Ryuk kills the lights when he manifests.
Yes.
Yeah.
We
they
almost never...
flicker like Stranger
we
Things.
almost never see him...
Oh, that's
lit.
another annoying thing.
And it's annoying to me because, as we mentioned in episode 1 or 2, that design is so iconic. And they've done a Batman 89 with it in this movie, which is that later in the movie, Light is looking through a book and he sees drawings, like ancient drawings of Shinigami, and it looks a bit like the comic book design.
It looks
right?
pretty much
which is like what they
exactly
did with the
comic
Joker
book.
in Batman 89, where like the advertising stuff would have the comic booky looking face. But it's, I don't know, is it a lack of faith in the material, or did they really think they were being spooky with this character?
I think when you said that it's horror, splatter gore, they can't figure out what they want to do with the material, I think.
Yes.
Because we've got different tropes from different kinds of horror films. As you said, we've got the Final Destination one, where you have that merciless chain of events that leads to your inevitable death that you can't escape. There's something very sinister about that. Those Final Destination films are fun to watch.
Yeah.
So there's that. We've also got gore. The guy's head comes off. We've also got a demon. And we've got the Stranger Things aesthetic, flickering lights, shapes moving around indistinctly in the background. A jar full of marbles falling on the ground. Who pushed it over? What's going on? And a creepy leather-bound book. Incidentally, the Death Note is not a note, like as the Japanese version of where it's a notebook, where note is the Japanese word for notebook. This is like the Necronomicon.
Yes.
It's got
It might as well be bound in human skin.
You know, it's he opens it and it's been used before and it still has
that's
writing in it.
Graffiti in it from
And
somebody else. Yeah.
it's got like
No, it's been used for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So you've got like
been used, it's
Latin
got-
and stuff, and then
keep
going
running
all the way
There's
back.
also warning. There's some warning, and it's like Ryuka's not your friend. Not trust him. That's Portal. That's in Portal when you go into the back rooms
Cake
and it
is
says
a
the
lie.
cake is a lie on the wall.
Incidentally, Ryuk's name is in the Death Note.
It is? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
How is he still alive?
Yeah. There must be a rule, because the rules are different in this movie than they are in any other version.
No, but
and they've added dozens of rules which you don't hear about.
Stupid rules, but
So there might be a rule. There might be a rule in there that says Ryuk's name can be in the book. The Shinigami. Like we don't.
No, he can be killed by the book though.
He can be.
No, he
yes,
says
of course he can be. But there might be some rule in the book that says his name can be in it because the Shinigami owner of the book can. You know what I'm saying? Like they haven't explained all the rules.
No, but there's at some point he says there are 4 letters in my name and people have only ever managed to write down 2.
Yeah.
But that's not even true. His name is in the book.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
but we
how
don't
it's
know that
spelled.
somebody. I'm saying that that might be his.
Are
He
the-
might have written the name in himself.
Do the instruction
This is-
pages not operate as normal pages of the Death Note?
Maybe there's a
Yeah.
rule in there. There's 90 pages. There's 97 rules or something in this
There were a
version
lot
of
more
Death
rules
Note.
in this.
So we don't know
Yeah,
what
but
rules are. If Rick wants to say this is Ryuk's book in the rules, he can. Maybe there's something in there
It's a
that.
bit annoying that we've got a book when you write someone's name in it, they die. And this is how we find Ryuk's name in the book
Yes.
of names that people die when it's written in
Yes.
it. Couldn't they have just said, the demon is not your friend or not your pet?
Yes. Oh, you're right. It's written by a person.
In the actual
Oh.
No, Ryuk didn't write that in. That's what I'm saying. Ryuk didn't write that in there.
It just seems like a bit of
Somebody wrote his name in there.
Someone wrote his name in there. He can be killed by the notebook because he said
And
people
nobody's
have
ever
tried.
witten more than 2 letters, he claims.
And yet his name
And
is
they've written a
in
whole
there.
sentence
so,
in there.
So the tutorial
my
pages
God.
must not work.
just
They must not operate as normal pages of the
Yes,
Death Note.
okay, you're right. Okay.
It's so annoying.
By the way, almost nobody dies of heart attacks. Well, the FBI people do, but
No, they don't. They
Only
throw
the-
themselves off a roof.
Oh, that's right. But there's a whole string of death. Yeah, almost. I think there's maybe 1 heart attack death in the movie.
I believe it's only one, and it's the FBI, the head of the FBI,
okay.
or perhaps the head of the team.
Okay.
He's the only one that has a heart attack. Incidentally, it's established clearly that it's not heart attacks that kill people when you just write their name, because Light Turner writes someone's name in it. I can't remember who it was exactly, but doesn't write who dies.
Yes, Watari. He says it's
Watari.
dealer's choice,
Dealer's
and then he
choice.
gets shot by a couple.
So
of
if you don't
terrorists or
write the
something.
cause of death, Ryuk decides
Oh,
how
right.
they'll die.
Right. Right.
And I assume that's what dealer's choice means.
Yes.
Because it's Ryuk that's doing... Another example of why... I think that's further proof that Ryuk is the one that's literally carrying out the killing.
That's true.
Okay.
Which
well, I don't think it's
ruins
consistent.
it so much, because then why even have the book? Because it's just like, why not just tell Ryuk, okay, I want this guy to die this way.
Exactly.
I want this guy to die this way. Why do you have to write it down in the book?
Why does Rick need the book?
Yeah.
Why doesn't he need people to do the
Why does he want
job for him?
He's a prick.
He's very hands-on in
so
this.
much more
It was
evil,
something.
too.
Yeah, it's very much more like Faust in the sense that he's
it is
very
much more like
hands-on.
Faust.
No, yeah, in the
It's
comic,
not-
Ryuk's just there to watch.
And also, he's bound... He doesn't even like Light. Because as the film goes on, he starts complaining
Yeah.
about how Light's not doing things right, and he can't wait until Light passes the book on, and as soon as Light passes the book on, he's going to kill Light.
Yeah.
He's going to... Or what he says is he's going to tell the next user of the book that they should put his name in it first. So this Ryuk, unlike the one in the comic, can't write names in his own book.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's much more like a traditional demon. He's been bound to, or like a genie.
It's like he's put a curse upon him or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, again, this is very Western horror tropes.
Yes.
But it's not at all like...
It's not
Death
Death
Note.
Note.
The Ryuk Light relationship in the manga was like the unique thing about it.
Yeah, because they're kind of friends.
Light thinking it was a rotten society, Ryuk being bored, that interplay
It's certainly
was a
one of the-
unique thing.
I agree.
And
Yeah,
here we
Ryuk's
go.
like Ryuk's like a goofy guy most of the time.
Here it seems you can almost see the wheels turning in the screenwriter's head, like the audience is going to understand it unless we have a relationship where the demon wants him to kill people.
Yeah. Yeah, because
he's
it's
a
egging him
demon,
on.
he's
That's,
Yes.
It happens twice. So first of all, he kills the bully by having him writing in decapitation. And Ryuk is telling him to do it.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe's like, just go ahead.
Yeah.
Write his name in.
That's not what I imagine Ryuk sounding like. The font in the comic, the font for when the Shinigami speak is different.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like an evil font, which I always imagine they had the kind of like the evil voice like that, like something like
yeah, I
that.
wasn't really sure. Maybe I was affected by the last week's movie,
Willem
but
Dafoe.
for me, because Ryuk's kind of dumb, I never really ascribed a demon voice to him because he's a bit thick.
Yeah, no, well, I always thought it was like, you had like the voice and then it had some effects on it. This was just Willem Dafoe.
Right. Yes, doing his Green Goblin
I
voice.
think Willem Dafoe would have been a great Ryuk if he hadn't been the Green Goblin.
Yes.
And and the fact that we never see him, it is another thing. You never see Ryuk, right?
No, he's always in shadows. It's really
Are
annoying.
they not confident in their CG, or they think it would be scarier?
This is the question
makes
I had
him more
earlier.
mysterious, more scary. The other thing is when I saw him, and I'm like, oh, Ryuk's a goober. They got to have comic relief in this movie. They're going to make it Ryuk. This is right when he's being introduced. I didn't know he was going to be boring.
Yeah.
Right when he's introduced, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's going to have a New York accent.
That would have been fun.
The thing I wanted to say about the Death Note itself, the book, is that they never talk about why it's called a note.
No.
Which you kind of hinted at, right? A note is a misuse, the Japanese misuse of the English word note for notebook, or it's their appropriation of the word note to mean notebook. Yeah. That's never in the movies or in the manga, the translation of the manga, they would talk about it as a notebook, the notebook, the notebook.
Yeah.
And you kind of solely, okay, you can work it out, even if you don't know Japanese, that this is what's going on for whatever reason. That must be the Japanese word for note. But here,
we did mention, I think.
But here, it's not set in Japan.
No. There's no reason for it to be called the
Why
Death
is it
Note.
called the Death Note? It's not set in Japan.
The other thing about Death Note, you said before, it looks like the Necronomicon. It's like a big, evil,
leather,
mystical,
yes.
It's like a tome.
Yes.
In the comic, it's like a normal book. And
yes, it's lined. In fact, it's a ruled notebook, like a school book.
Which is so nuts.
Yeah.
That's what...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now we meet Light's dad. Played by Shea Whigham from the Fast and Furious movies.
Yes,
I bet you were thrilled to see that.
Was not so thrilled that he was like a beat cop almost, or like he's a detective, but he's not the head of the police force. And I was very not thrilled that they had a strained relationship, and the dead mother, and all these cliches are just the cliches just flying at you. Fast and Furious. Speaking of Fast and Furious,
he's in 4 and 6 and 9.
Wasn't he in 2?
No, he's not in 2.
Okay.
He's in 4 because Brian is working for the FBI
Right,
by that
yes,
point.
okay.
Our next project, the Fast and Furious podcast.
So, yes, I was like, okay, this is terrible. Also, all these scenes, for some reason, where he's having dinner with his son and he comes upstairs, shot in Dutch tilt. Why?
Oh, the Dutch tilt.
Why?
It's so
Is it scary? Is it supposed to add tension?
That's
Why?
how the film started too, with Reckless and shots of the cheerleaders and Light doing the homework. It's all Dutch angles.
Yeah. So why, when
And I'm
Dad
like,
and
why
son
is
are
this
having
Dutch
dinner
angles?
together? Bizarre. Such an odd choice.
Because it's spookier.
They have a good relationship, which is why it's so interesting and like upsetting and sad when he like becomes Kira, and then he's betrayed his dad.
Yes.
His loving
Yes,
father.
that's a constant source of tension in the manga.
Yeah.
Is how good the dad is, the one
Yeah.
supernova
and how much
character.
his dad believes in him.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. That is a big dynamic in the manga. For some reason, they decided that's too hard to understand, or
Well,
it's more
parents,
interesting.
a teenager
It's really
getting
like
on with
basic
his dad.
screenwriting
Yeah.
stuff. Oh, there's got to be tension in every scene, so we have these two characters have to have tension. So
Like
dull.
a committee.
Yes.
It's
And
like
like
a committee wrote it, which a committee did. It had like 4 writers, so it wasn't just that we had the 2 writers who don't have Wikipedia articles.
Yeah.
With a Greek surname.
Yeah.
And then you've got Jeremy Slater, and then there's at least one other uncredited person that doctored it.
Okay.
So it's never good.
No.
Light
Any
doesn't
cooks?
get bullied either. He's the top student
He's
in,
the top student
in
in
all of
Japan,
Japan,
yes.
Yeah.
right? He's like the
yeah.
smartest guy
And he's
in
perfect.
the country. He's perfect.
He never makes mistakes.
He never goes out after school. He goes home and does his homework. He doesn't get bullied. He's boring. He's a really boring
Okay,
guy.
well, speaking of making mistakes, we're going to get to an important point here. But he goes up to his room and he writes the name of this gangster. We think it's the guy that killed his mother but
Yeah.
got away with it.
Yeah.
It was.
And he has an elaborate death in a restaurant, and it's coming true. And Dad comes upstairs. He's like, "I just heard the word that guy that killed your mom had died in a freak accident in this restaurant." Blah blah blah. Okay, he goes to school now. He's writing in the book at school,
Yeah.
which is. Saw it in Death Note 1, 2006. He was out in Shinjuku in front of the
This is
screen.
even worse, though.
This is worse. It's
Because
much.
this is-
it gets worse and worse in this movie. His public use of the note, but anyway, and their conversations about it. But the cheerleader Misa, kind of Misa, just maybe similar
Definitely
names.
supposed to be Misa.
So he's got a kind of crush on her. So he immediately tells her about the Death Note.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Doesn't hesitate.
Which is shocking.
And
So, yeah. This to me, I was watching this, I'm like, what? I suppose...
Insane.
What were they thinking? Had they even read the comic? I suppose if you're coming in blind, maybe you could plausibly watch this film and think, oh, this is like creepy Necronomicon high school story.
yes.
And a horny teenager gets the
Yes, this is
book,
it. It's the
Yeah,
cliche.
and he uses it to impress the
or it's
goth-
just the
goth
they just
chick.
put they put a romance in
Not
this
even.
movie.
She's leading him around.
She's not a goth. She's on the cheerleading team.
Oh yeah, that's
and
right.
she's-
she's the only cheerleading goth.
Yes.
She's like
The smoking cheerleading
she's
goth.
like not even a goth. She's like a cheerleader, and she doesn't want to be a cheerleader.
Well, we know that because she smokes during practice.
her character is God. What's the word? It's her only character trait is like she's in with the it crowd, but she's not one of the cool kids, and she doesn't fit in with the
Okay.
cool kids because she's on the cheerleading team, but she doesn't fit there, which is exactly like Chi-Chi from Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh yeah, you're right. That was the last time we were all together in this room.
Yeah. So I think they just like the screenwriting playbook says you have to have
They're just ticking off these boxes.
romantic subplot of some sort. He doesn't hesitate for a second to tell her about it, and then he demonstrates how the book works to her. He proves it by
Right there.
killing the hostages. So the hostage situation, which we had first in the manga.
He doesn't prove it straight away though, because we have to have a funny haha moment where he shows her the book and he's like, "Look, I wrote down the way he died," and she's like, "Oh, great," and she tries to leave.
Oh, and
and
she
then before like actually proving it.
Yes, and also he gets her to touch the book to see Ryuk, but she can't see Ryuk, which is a big change
Yeah.
from the
Yeah,
like a
big
key
change.
change. They pointed out very specifically. in this movie, I guess, for people who've read the manga to prove that they've got established different rules.
The only reason you would put that in is for people that have read the manga, right? Because there's no reason for Light to think that touching the book enables you to see Ryuk.
Yeah, why would he think that?
Yeah, why would he think that?
Rick didn't explain that to him.
No.
It's so odd.
Yes. Okay, so they kill a hostage. She believes him. Now they start going on their montage to kill criminals. They decide that the world needs a god, and they can be that god if they kill all the bad guys and make the world
One of the
better.
best parts of the manga is turned into a montage. Yeah.
It's a montage, and there's crazy scenes where they're like making out while they're using the computer.
Insane.
Bizarre. Just strange choices one after the next.
I mean, again, we sort of have to imagine you hadn't read Death Note.
Yeah.
This is all just a very formulaic horror movie.
Oh yeah. Yes.
You know, horny teenagers.
I would
What's
say
more
not
horror?
even. It's beyond formulaic. I think it's like one of the remakes, like for the remakes that started around 2003 or 4 with the Friday and Texas Chainsaw, and then we had Nightmare on Elm Street. All the really bad horror remakes that were just kind of taking the sludge and just reproducing it.
We've just got, exactly, a bunch of cliches from various different horror properties or horror tropes.
Yep.
We've got some horny teenagers.
It's actually a real
making out
compression
and
of
killing
like
people.
we have to show that the romance is progressing. How do we do that? Why during the montage? Well, they're making out while they're looking at the computer.
Yeah.
And there's no exact, and everything's on fast forward. We don't have time for their relationship to.
No.
That's why it just seems
That's
like.
we have to show them making out.
That's why it
Otherwise,
just
we don't
seems
have
like
the sense
we have
of
to
it.
skip ahead.
they're really horny.
Yeah.
And he's just sort of being like Mia seems kind of sinister.
You can, you know what? You can ring the bell because Dune '84 did the same thing with Paul and Channy, where it's just a montage where they're fighting the Harkonnens, and then we get a voiceover from Princess Irulan saying their romance deepened.
Yeah.
That's it.
Shani and Paul's love grew. But except this, yes, I agree. Except we don't even have a voiceover here.
Yeah.
So it just seems like
No
they just
voiceover.
really get off to killing people.
Yes,
with
it
the
does
Death
seem
Note.
that way, doesn't it?
They're just making out and killing people with the Death Note.
Yeah.
It feels less
They're
like
psychotic.
A bit
because
like
I never felt-
Cronenberg's Crash, maybe.
it never feels like that's a reference. It never feels like I never really felt convinced that they really cared for one another, despite their occasional protestations that they loved one another. It always felt like Mia was using Light,
Absolutely.
Which is the truth.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the explicit truth, not this is text.
Yes,
It
yes.
felt like text, not subtext.
Yes.
Like she was leading him around by his dick, essentially.
Yeah.
I think it was supposed to be implied, but it was very much obvious.
Yes.
Yes.
Not on purpose.
Well, there were a couple of points where the movie was trying to do a switcheroo, but you could see it, like with the FBI agents.
Yeah.
When the FBI agents, jumping way ahead, the FBI agents are killed.
Yeah.
As in the comic, but it's not Light that does it. There's no elaborate scheme. They just somehow die, and then he accuses Ryuk and looks like, "What? You weren't doing anything." So Ryuk seems to take the blame, but me and Ashton looked at each other like, "I thought she did it."
Obviously.
And then at the end, it's obvious. It's revealed as if it's a big reveal. I wrote those names in the book.
Yeah, no, it's so weird that Ryuk would sort of admit to it, like because he likes Mia more, so he just sides with Mia and lies for no reason.
He wants Light to give the book to Mia. Or failing that, he wants Light to give him back the book so he can choose someone else.
So I want to point out one other moment in the montage, which is, when he names himself Kira. Because he comes in and he says Kira means light in Russian and Celtic. And in Japanese, it kind of sounds like killer.
Yeah.
But as I pointed out in episode 1, Kira Kira in Japanese also means shining.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, what? He's chosen this fake name to distract them from what continent they're on. Fine. Did nobody on this writing this do any level of looking into it?
I don't think. I remember being confused.
They looked it up enough to find out that Kira means light.
I didn't
Russian
even
Celtic.
double check this. Actually.
I don't think he says it sounds like killer in Japanese.
It kind of means killer. He says, or something.
He says it means killer. Yeah, I think he says it means.
It kind of means killer,
but
or something.
it doesn't. It's in the manga. It sounds like killer.
Yeah, it sounds like Kira. Yeah.
And he doesn't like that, but he's chosen it not because it sounds like killer. Like I thought it was wrong. I thought he got it wrong. Like he didn't say it sounds like killer. It means killer or something like that.
Wait, in the manga?
No, in the show.
In this movie?
In this movie. I swear he got it wrong or something.
No, I think he said it sounds like, I'd have to look it up again, but I did note it down that he didn't, somehow nobody on the team, the screenwriting team, actually, research this, to me, is kind of a core...
A very hasty Google tells me that Kira is probably not the Russian word for light.
Great. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
I think they just wrote that down and moved on to the next line.
Yeah.
And maybe put a little tag.
Perfect.
Fix this later. They never did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now
Through the one draft.
we cut to Japan. There's been a slaughter at this kind of like Yakuza club.
Yeah.
I didn't quite get how this happened, but here's where we meet
LaKeith Stanfield
LaKeith Stanfield as L.
in a hoodie. In a black hoodie.
And he's got his
He's not
face
wearing
covered
white.
like Bazooka Joe. And we meet Masaoka, who is one of the producers of this movie and plays this Japanese cop.
I almost forgot about that till you reminded me of it.
Yeah.
So Masaoka, of course, from
Heroes.
From Heroes we would know him from,
Yeah.
which is not based on a comic, but is very comic book-esque.
Yes, exactly.
Like, just so nuts to see him there.
Yeah, but he was one of the producers on this thing anyway. So now we meet L and we meet Watari. L has somehow, he's leaked, I think he somehow deliberately leaked information about these gangsters, this club or something.
He's leaked specific information in different cities all around the world,
Right.
waiting to see which one gets hit.
Okay.
Which is
Something like
not what L would do at all, I thought, because that's like asking for them to be killed.
Yes.
These criminals, and that's like not what he does.
Yes,
That's like
yes,
his whole
yes.
thing is like, we can't test the death note,
That's right. Yes.
or even like on an inmate.
Yeah.
The only time he does that is at the start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that guy.
At the very start, with that guy who's due to be scheduled
Yes.
that day.
Also, they were all, when I was watching this, they were all dead. Do you remember? So there's dozens of people dead
Yeah.
in this room.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that and thinking, hey, what? It now makes sense because it's Ryuk that decides how people die. So when Light writes the names
right.
down in the death
Maybe.
Ryuk is obviously given them a very
So if you can go
gory
all
death.
over the world away from the death note, he doesn't need to be near it. I don't quite know how.
I
don't think he
really
personally
don't
has
think
to visit-
Ryuk does it. I really don't think he does. I think at the end he was just being an idiot and pretending he was pulling the bolts off the Ferris wheel.
Well, okay.
Dealer's choice implies that there's... I mean, it could be
that-
genuinely...
No,
random,
I think he.
random.
Yeah, but maybe he chose that Watari would be machine gunned down, but he wasn't there
Yeah,
magically
no.
pulling the triggers of the guns.
No.
Wait, he wasn't
Ryuk?
No,
he?
Ryuk
He was
wasn't.
he was following Watari though.
Oh, you're right, he was.
He was there. He
Oh
was,
my god. Ashwin, you've just devastatingly undermined your own case.
Yeah, no, that's true, isn't it? Why was he following him?
It must be to make sure that he died the way you wanted him to die. Oh my god.
So after this case, we get this bizarre scene with Ellen Watari. Again, LaKeith Stanfield, usually a great actor, is trying to play eccentric in this and is doing a bad job at it.
Yeah.
It's not good material.
It's not good material, and he hasn't had 3 months to prep this character or whatever and figure out how to do this awkward, eccentric, antisocial kind of character. The candies that he eats are given like an in-universe, like a in-continuity reason. Like there's some insulin spike that he gets from
Yeah,
them.
he's not just a goofy goober.
Yeah. He's not just
Bizarre.
making up
It's
fake
like
reasons why he loves sweets.
It's like in, I don't know, like having to explain the Joker's mouth as scars. You know what I mean? Like they've decided this comic is stupid, that this guy's eating all these candies. We need to have a reason he's eating the
The
candies.
reason is he's tricked out his metabolism or something.
Yeah.
He's staying up for 40 hours in a row
Yeah,
without sleeping. He needs to eat constant sugar.
Yes.
He's putting on blue light glasses.
And then Watari has to sing him a
Which is
song
the
from
opposite of what you
Wizard of
should do
Oz
if you
so
wanna
he can
go
go
to
to
sleep.
sleep.
You don't.
In order to go to
blue
sleep,
light
he
is
needs
the
to
opposite of
sing
what
the
you-
song.
He's like a toddler and Watari's his dad.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he starts acting out as soon as Watari disappears. Oh man.
Okay, so
there's a moment where prisoners around the world write in perfect Japanese on their cell
Yes.
walls.
Yeah. For no reason.
You're not supposed to be able to produce information you don't know.
yes, but
They don't know Japanese, so they
Yeah, but
can't
the-
have done it.
But the rules of this world are, we don't know the rules of the Death Note. in
Yeah,
this
no,
world.
no,
we
'cause
do.
there is
fact-
Because Watari can't tell Light L's real name because he doesn't know it. He has to go and find it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can't produce information that
Because
you
in the
don't
comic
know.
he tries
So you
he tries
can't
one
have
things.
written it.
He writes
right.
one in Japanese and one in English, and one he just draws a symbol, and the guy draws the symbol, but he doesn't write the Japanese because he doesn't know Japanese.
Exactly. Whereas here they've just, these stupid people
Yeah,
have just
it's
thrown it in.
it's hypnosis is what it is.
Yes.
It's you write your name in the death note and you get 48 hours of hypnosis before they die.
Yes, yes. So that's one of the things in this movie is you very much can control people with the Death Note before they die. You can make them do whatever you want.
Control
Almost anything.
inanimate objects.
Yes, you can control inanimate objects. We'll talk about that when we get to the ending as well. Okay, so Elle figures out that Kira is in Seattle.
Yeah.
Because that's where the leak of the police leak came from or something. I can't remember exactly, but there was a...
I think he figures it out specifically because that's where that first... The guy who...
Yes, that's right.
The hostage taker that we first see.
Yeah.
It was only on the Seattle news.
Yeah.
Okay, except...
That's right.
Except, no it wasn't, because they were watching it on their computer.
Yeah.
So it was on the internet.
Yeah.
So anyone in the world could have seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is way in...
Yeah. Anyone? You could narrow it down to the states.
Anybody could have done it. In the comic, L sneakily has himself only broadcast in the Kanto region.
Yes.
And the only place you can see this is on television.
On TV, yeah.
So he knows that if someone sees it and kills the fake L, then that person must be in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Here, though, it's in reverse. It's already happened, and he's post facto saying, because this crime happened in Seattle, it means that the guy's in Seattle. Except, no, it was broadcast on the internet, so it doesn't... They just haven't thought it through. It's really frustrating.
He's assuming that no one else in the world is watching Seattle news on
Except
the
it's
internet.
being streamed on the internet, so anyone could have watched it. It wasn't a local television channel that's not... And also, that was live when Elle did it. It was happening in real time. Here, it's like a month ago. So Elle knew where Kira was in real time. Whereas...
Anyone could have found out about that
hypothetically,
crime.
let's say it wasn't on the internet, and it was just on Seattle local television. It was a month ago.
Yeah.
Someone could have...
by that logic, it would have been uploaded to the internet where anyone can view it, which is why he couldn't figure it out before.
Yeah. Frustrating.
Okay. So Elle holds a press conference where he announces himself. He says, we're going to stop Kira. He's still wearing
who is this guy? No one knows who this guy is. He's not a cop. He doesn't look like a cop.
No.
He's in a hoodie.
Why does he get
to
make a press conference?
I don't know, but the dad did recognize the L when he heard about L. He's like, I've heard of him.
Yeah, but he doesn't introduce himself as L when he walks out. He's like, I'm going to solve this. And then, the press is all like, oh, yay.
A guy with a mask,
Yeah, the dude that won't show his face.
Bizarre.
It doesn't... And there's no point, dude, because he's not trying to bait Kira into killing a random stranger.
No, he's trying to do it to see if Kira can kill him just by looking at him, without his name or face. This is how he figures out that he needs either or both.
True, but at this point, he doesn't know that. Remember, in the comic, he puts the guy on death row out there.
Yeah.
And then when he's killed, he then says, now kill me. And when Light doesn't, then he says, that means you need a name and face to kill me. At this point in the film, Elle doesn't know any of that.
He's guessing.
He's literally risking his life.
Yeah.
Elle's supposed to be a scaredy cat. He doesn't go into the open ever because of this.
If you are dumb, you cannot write a smart character, as you pointed out at the start of this episode, Ashwin. And in this entire film, Elle never does a single smart thing.
Yeah.
No. Neither does Light.
Instead, he just wigs out and runs around with a gun, which...
Yeah.
Greatest
Oh,
detective
yeah.
This is the greatest detective in the world, running around with a gun.
Yeah, foot
in the
chase.
streets.
Car chase and then foot chase. Okay, so he has Light followed by the FBI, which makes Dad angry when he finds out about it. There's a confrontation.
This is another issue. He says he follows...
He
says, okay, we're going to follow every single possible suspect that could possibly have access to these records. There's going to be 100 people at least. There's only 12 possible suspects that have access to the database. It's not like, there's no one line where they say, we're going to start with these 12 people, and we're going to go to these 12 because we only have 12 FBI agents. It's implied, it sounds like there's going to be 100. Light's going to have to kill 100 of them, but then there's only 12, so there's only 12 suspects, so it has to be
There's only 12 in the manga.
Yeah.
Like, why not just
No, there's only 12, and they're doing a rotation, and Light assumes that there's 100.
You're right.
Or Light assumes that there's hundreds, so then, which is why when he kills them all, it becomes an issue, because then that narrows down the people that it could be to 12.
That's right. Yeah. Well, forget all that. Here, something completely different happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
He sees he's being followed.
Yes.
His girlfriend sees...
Mia notices they're being followed. Instead of Ryuk like it is in the
Yeah. So they all die off, as I mentioned before, and then it seems to be placed on Ryuk.
We get this weird sequence where they all walk in lockstep up to the top of the building and
then
just walk
they
off.
throw themselves off a building. But we get a scene where Light confronts Mia about killing all these FBI people in a loud conversation in the school hallway.
Yeah. They're running up the stairs. They're like on the way to class.
Yeah.
There's no going into, let's go have a quiet chat about this in the corner. Just right out in public, they're talking about all this shit happening. Now Dad has a press conference. So now Dad is threatening to catch Kira.
Yeah. And
After all the FBI agents have been killed, he comes out, he's very angry about it.
Yeah.
And now it seems like Dad might be in trouble because Mia wants to write his name in the book.
That's right. Mia wants to kill him, but
And now Light,
refuses.
so we have a very, we have it, by this stage, we've had a huge shift from the comic.
Yep.
Because now Light is reluctant about the killings. He only wants to kill bad guys. He doesn't want to kill people that are in his way, or they're in Kira's way, that are stopping him from taking
About
the
40 chapters in, every chapter he's like, do I kill my dad now or do I wait?
Yeah.
here, I mean, this is a pretty clear difference, as you said, from the comic. In the comic, Light is a sociopath.
Yes.
Essentially. He has to be that because it's this game of cat and mouse where they're both kind of steely intellectuals, both trying to outwit one another.
Yeah.
Here, what's happened instead is this has landed in the lap of an average hormonal teen.
You can see the wheels turning, the screenwriter wheels turning. We can't have a main character that's not likable.
Yeah.
He needs
What kind
to
of
have
main character would kill his dad?
He needs to have an empathetic side. In order to structure a narrative, this guy needs to be likable. This comic is bad because this guy is not likable. This character is reprehensible. That's not good storytelling.
Bold to assume they know what reprehensible means.
Yeah. they are assuming that that's bad storytelling. You can absolutely see the wheels turning. They're we're telling a good story where this character has two sides.
They have to make it for American teenagers.
Yes, exactly.
So it has to be
the good thing about the comic is that Light doesn't really have
this could happen to any one of you.
There's no point in having two sides.
He's lying himself about two sides when he loses the Death Note and he convinces himself that he's a good person that would never use it for.
But that's just all according to Keikaku.
Exactly.
You know, exactly. His purpose in the comic is not to have a moral dimension.
Yes.
His purpose is just to kill people with the Death Note and be caught.
Yes.
Eventually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But here, on the other hand, like as you said, some screenwriters like this doesn't compute.
Yeah.
How are the teens supposed to identify with our hero?
Exactly.
We have to make him not want to kill his dad.
Yes, exactly. So we put in this Lady Macbeth character to do all that kind of bad, negative stuff.
She really is. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Oh my god, she's Lady Macbeth.
She absolutely is. She's like, hey, you got to kill this guy. Constantly. Okay, so now Elle and Light have a confrontation in a cafe. Elle just walks and introduces himself, which is a little bit like the university sequence in the manga where
he watches him for a few days because he's like a few seats behind him in the test, and then they go up on stage together because they both got 100% on everything, and then they like become friends, and we have the tennis scene where they try to figure out. Where Elle tries to figure out if he's Kira from the way he plays, from whether or how much he wants to win a game of tennis.
Yes, but when you turn the page and you see him at the testing center, Elle at the testing center, he usually doesn't leave. It's a shock. It's such a shock. Yes. It's such a great twist. So here, I guess they think it's a great twist that he shows up in the cafe and actually...
He's just a shot of him in the cafe and he runs up and he's like, you're Kira.
Yeah, and then he realizes you're Kira, which is a watered-down version of how it works in the comic where they actually say, I think you're Kira, and then they have to, he has to prove that
and Light just admits to it. Or he's like, so...
No, he kind of, denies it. He's like, so how do you think Kira kills people? Like, he's trying to sound out, what... But
by the end of the conversation, he's all but admitted.
Yes. Yeah, and they're having a very loud conversation in this cafe where all these people can hear. Again,
by the window.
Also,
Elle takes his mask down by the window, by the front window of this cafe. Yeah. He runs in from the back of the cafe.
He's been wearing a mask.
He's in the cafe. He walks in. The front window's here. He runs up to the front window from the back of the cafe, jumps on the chair like a cat or something, and he's sitting there and he's like, I think you're Kira. And then they have this whole conversation, and then Light has basically said everything that L needs to know to say that I'm Kira, except for I am Kira.
And, you know, L has been wearing the mask the whole time up till this point.
Yeah.
No matter what company he's in.
Yeah.
If he's out on if he's out investigating
he
the crime
knows
scene,
this guy's
he's
Kira.
wearing the mask already, even
He's
before he knows
certain
about the
this guy's
killings.
Kira. By this point, he's not in the comic. He's not certain that he's Kira. It's like a 5%. He starts at like a 2% or a 5% chance or something, but he's the only suspect.
He's trying to fake him out. He's trying to rattle Light and getting him to reveal something. Here, L's not doing anything like that.
No, but the screenwriters want this to be the scene from Heat with Pacino and De Niro. That's really the way they've staged this, is the level of confidence they have in this scene of the cop and the criminal speaking face to face.
Yeah, you're right.
It really plays like that scene, but again, a very light version. Okay, so now Light is determined to figure out L's name. So he's going to write Watari's name in the book.
How does he know Watari's name? He writes
Well, he
down...
knows his name is Watari.
Okay,
That's all it
Watari
takes.
is not anyone's name.
Well, not in the manga, but in this movie.
It's Quillishwami.
But in the movie, his name is not Quillishwam. His name is Watari.
He has
No
one
one's
name.
name is Watari. That's just one name.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but we...
In the world,
as the movie
American
presents it-
teenagers don't know that.
Well, maybe... No, as the movie presents it, he's like Cher or Madonna. He's got one name. Or Sting.
Yeah.
His name is just
Oprah.
Watari. It's on his business card, which we get a close-up of the business card that says Watari on it and nothing else.
I put it to you, you couldn't write Cher, Sting,
No.
Yeah.
or
It's
Oprah
very
in
clear
the
that
Death
it doesn't
Note.
work
You would
like
have
that.
to know their it's
You
their
have to
birth
write
name.
Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, birth name. Okay.
But
Actually, you're right. You're actually
Yeah,
right,
no,
because he
you
can't
can't-
write
you
just
can't
L. He
just
can
write-
write L in the book.
That's
He
it.
needs the
Yeah.
actual...
L is L's name.
But maybe Watari is his legal given name. We don't know.
His
The movie
one
doesn't
name
tell
Watari,
us.
It
that's-
might be his legal name, but it can't be his
It might be his
birth
birth name, because the movie doesn't tell us.
Yes, but is it birth name or legal name? That's never implied. It just has to be his name, and I don't think in any respect is Watari his actual name.
It can't be his name. No one's
No,
called Watari.
no.
yet.
I'm
I think Watari is a pseudonym, and they've just basically said that you can write down.
You
a pseudonym
can say...
because he knows one
you
of his
think,
names.
You can say you think it's a pseudonym, but
What?
the movie never says it's a
No,
pseudonym.
but what if his name's Watari Johnson? He
Yes,
didn't write down Watari Johnson. He just wrote down Watari.
I agree with you, but the
Yeah.
movie never says he has a last name, or he never says this is a fake name or anything like that.
Yeah, we've got two perspectives here. You've got the in-movie perspective, where we're never... I mean, his name might be Watari.
Yeah.
But in real life, no one's called Watari.
Of
and
course.
They're fucked up.
Of course.
It's plainly a pseudonym.
Yeah.
And L is also a pseudonym.
I'm saying it's not plainly a pseudonym in the world of this movie. I'm saying in the world, the construction of this movie, his name at birth could have been Watari.
I hear what you're saying, and I present a counterpoint. Watari presents his business card to
Yeah.
Light's father in the scene that he's first introduced.
Yeah.
And Light's father does a double take
Yeah.
when he sees that it's only the word Watari.
Yeah.
Thus implying that it's unusual for a person to be just called Watari.
I read it as unusual because there was no business or phone number or anything like that. It was just a name.
He's being a spoil sport now.
Okay, but the point is, if you write a person's name in the book, you can control them up until the time of their death.
43
And-
hours, is it?
Something like that. And you're allowed to, if you tear the person's, that page out of the book, they won't die, but you can only do that once.
That's a one-time thing. So
Yeah.
it's never been done by any of the owners of the Notebook before.
I think Okay,
Or is it once per owner?
I actually went back and listened to this again.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Okay. It says, I think the rule is literally, if a person writes a name in the notebook, they can then, if they destroy the page it's written on, then they can cancel the death of the person whose name they wrote.
Once.
But it says, once. So if the person who wrote it, so one per person, I think is what's implied here. Because of course, if it was one per note, it would have been used up centuries ago, right? Because people have been writing in it forever.
Yeah.
However, that would also explain why, however, we run up into problems with this interpretation. So the film is fucked up regardless.
Yeah.
Because two things happen. First of all, later in the film, Mia writes Light's name in the book.
Yeah.
And then promises to burn the page if he hands it over to her.
Mm-hmm.
That would be consistent if it was the person who writes the name has to burn the page in order to cancel the death.
But that's not true.
So, yeah, I know. I know.
You're talking about the pit at the end?
Yeah, no, but I am getting to that, yes.
Okay.
So that's why Light doesn't immediately burn the page himself. I was just watching the film going, why don't you burn the page yourself? We've established you can burn a page to cancel a death. No, it has to be the person who wrote it. Okay. First problem with that. Watari dies because Mia tears the page out of the notebook with Watari's name on it, implying that if she hadn't done so, Light would have used up that...
Light was planning to write,
Yes.
to not to kill Watari.
Yes.
He did, yes.
So she tore the page out of the book.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't able to save Watari, and Watari died. When he confronts her about it, she says, I did that to save the use of that rule for me saving you from your own death at midnight.
Okay.
So now we have two interpretations of the same rule. In the one interpretation, the person who wrote it burns it. In another interpretation, no, you only get one.
Yeah, it is
That's why
only one,
Mia-
because she didn't destroy the page, that's why Watari died. The page is intact.
But there was no reason for her to tear it out to keep it from Light. She said she needed to keep it from
he
Light.
was going to tear it out and burn it.
Yeah.
That's why she needed to keep it away from him.
But
But there was no reason for her to do that. The reason she offered was so that to save it for saving him. She was implying that
when
if-
she got her hands on the notebook, she wrote Light down. She wrote, Light Yagami, Light
Turner.
Yep.
dies at midnight, tore out the Watari page so she could later burn that page. So
Later
she
burn
could,
the Light
so
Turner
she could
page.
later burn the Light Turner
That's
page.
She believed, what the film is telling us is that they only had one use of that rule between them. Whereas actually, according to a literal reading of the rule, it should have been one each.
Yes.
So the film can't even keep it
But
straight.
no, but even then,
then
it should have been one use per book, because at the end, the note falls into a fire pit.
Yeah. Nobody burns the note in
No
the
one
end.
does it, and it still works.
Well,
Which would imply it's used up the one use of the notebook, because no one's actually doing it.
agreed. But although I hate to give this film any credit, and it's already wrong. They've already fucked up, as we've established. But that ending narrative says Mia tears the page out of the book and drops it into a fire. So I guess she pulls it out as she's falling.
Yeah.
She lets it go, and then she was the last person to touch it before it fell.
I doubt they thought that in depth, though. I would. I mean,
I want to believe
with
you.
your argument, I would argue that Ryuk burned the page.
I agree, actually.
Because if Ryuk's the one
I think it's
orchestrating
really
all the
weak.
deaths.
I completely agree, actually. This film just can't keep it can't keep anything straight. In comparison to, I mean, we keep talking about the manga.
It's so in depth.
They make no mistakes. Really, there are very few plot holes. I think in the manga, it's very consistent, and that's the pleasure of it.
Yep.
Seeing how
It's so accurate.
how do you catch a person with a completely opaque set of rules that allows them to kill at a distance with no evidence
Yep.
and leave no evidence?
Okay, so how we got here was that he writes Watari's name in the book. He's going to control him, and what he wants is he wants Watari to tell him, Light, L's real name.
Yep.
Watari wakes up in the night,
Hypnotizes him.
Yeah, this
basically,
seems like hypnosis.
calls him up. Now, this is actually there's a really telling line from the screenwriters in this scene, where Watari says on the phone, "I don't know his name. Those kids were raised in an orphanage, St. Martin's Orphanage, to be the greatest detectives in the world. They're put in this room. He was the youngest to emerge from this kind of torture scenario or whatever."
Exposition dump. We don't know.
Okay, this is fine. The line here from Light is, "You gotta be kidding me." And to me, that was the screenwriters reading the manga. That was the screenwriters reading all the stuff about Whammy House and saying, "You gotta be kidding me.
Which is after
this is
L
so
dies.
dumb."
We don't find out about any of that.
Yeah, but that's my point is they saw the manga as dumb. You can see the screenwriters' disdain for the source material.
Completely plausible, but incorrect.
Okay?
Because I know exactly why.
He says, "You gotta be kidding me."
Not why he says that, but I know why this is in the film.
Okay.
And it's so much worse.
Okay.
It's so much worse.
Okay.
Okay, here I have an interview with Adam Wingard.
Okay.
From 2017 in June, late June. Talking about adapting the manga.
Okay.
In the early stages of the film, I was rereading all the manga, really just looking at how does any of this translate to the United States.
Okay. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. Ultimately, Death Note is such a Japanese thing, you can't just say, let's port this over and it's all going to add up. They're two different worlds completely. Ultimately, whenever I say it's about America, I'm looking at it like, what are the main kind of core issues going on in America? what are the things that people chalk up to conspiracy theories? What kind of weird underground programs does the government have? How do these work in the world of Death Notes? He goes on. One of the most exciting things for me is to take L's backstory and flesh that out in the context of underground, clandestine American operations, programs, and
Are we
things
talking
of
about
that
pizza
nature.
shops?
So he's like a psyop.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
he's
told you it was worse.
he's like Area 51 secret government project that lost all its
told you
funding
it was
because it
worse.
didn't work.
Oh,
I told you
He's
it
the
was
only
worse.
one that made it out.
I thought you were going towards a QAnon
Jesus.
conspiracy theory about a pizza shop and
No.
child enslavement rings or
It's
something.
not even that relevant.
Okay.
It's just the old chestnut about super spy programs. It gets
Oh,
better.
jeez.
Keep listening. In a way, it's sort of like taking the world that The Guest, my other film, which goes into super soldier creation program and things like that. It's taking kind of those types of concepts and expanding it and saying, what does that mean in the concept of the film? There you have it. Not only is
Rehashing
it...
his last movie.
Yes. We were talking about the sludge
Yeah.
of other movies.
Yeah.
He's just taken something from one of his previous films.
We're about to go into very much deeper sludge here because now, for whatever
boy.
reason, Watari is compelled to go to the abandoned orphanage and find the records and find now.
This isn't how it works in the... Well, it's not how it works in the... It's more like hypnosis, as you said, Ashwin. Because
I don't know, yeah, because he
Light
didn't know the
is talking
name.
to him on the phone.
Yeah, he's talking to Light on the phone. He doesn't know the name. My feeling is, okay, that's the end of it.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
somehow he goes to find and he does whatever Light says.
Instead, Watari has become Light's slave.
Yeah. Is that what he wrote in the book?
No, it
He
isn't.
will do
He just
whatever
said-
I say?
No,
No.
it isn't.
No.
What he wrote in the book was that he will become obsessed with revealing El's identity and then he will die.
Okay, maybe.
Sure, but that doesn't say, I will take the random orders of a stranger that calls me up.
Yeah.
Oh, that I call up on the phone.
No, that's not how it works because
No,
it's
it isn't
it's
how it
acting like
works.
that the owner of the Death Note can just mind control anyone to do what they want, and like he can speak to them. He doesn't have to write it into the book. But really, what would happen is that what should have happened is that Light shouldn't have had to call Watari, and Watari should have done everything in his ability to find these names without having to get Light's input.
But that's what should have happened, but it's not what did happen, because we need to understand what's happening. They don't trust us to get why Watari's doing what he's doing, so we have to have Light calling him up, and of course, because Light is
Remember
a goodie...
in the first movie, in the 2006 one, where they had those switches and we didn't know why people were acting that way,
Yeah.
and it was revealed after the fact?
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, okay, you kind of forgive it when it's revealed later, and
They should have
could
done that here, but they didn't.
Okay, but...
Because Light has to be a goodie,
Yes, that's right.
or at least
He's
sympathetic.
misunderstood.
He's trying to talk Watari out of... He really wants Watari to find the
He wants
name.
Watari to live.
and
Yeah,
survive.
He doesn't want to kill innocent people. He only wants to kill criminals.
Yeah.
Which is not like Light at all.
But why would he... But then
Well,
he wants
Light's
El's
definition
name
is
to
no
kill
one's
him.
innocent that stands in the way of the perfect world
Yeah.
of the future. The end justifies the means for Light,
Yeah.
but in the comic. But this Light, on the other hand, is like some kind of whiny teenager, and he doesn't want to kill anyone that's innocent. By
okay.
his definition of innocent.
So, Watari goes to this abandoned orphanage to find the records. I feel like I've seen this 100 times before in other
Yeah.
horror
Where?
movies
Where?
where you have to go to the
Think of
abandoned
the thing.
hospital
Yep.
or orphanage
Yep.
to find the big reveal.
Yep.
It looked
find the
exactly
notes.
like... I saw it, and I've been watching a bunch of X-Men movies lately, preparing to watch Deadpool 3. I saw it, and I said, Charles Xavier's school for gifted
Yes.
children. And it looks like the school in Deadpool 2 that the New Zealand kid from Hunt for the Wilder People was in.
Yep.
That guy with the
that
fire
creepy
powers.
orphanage. Yep.
Yeah, the rooms looked exactly like that. It's a series of
There's
unfortunate
always,
events.
there's always
a
this
million other
abandoned,
things.
dusty. It's got leaves on the floor. You go in.
Dolls
and
on the ground.
For some reason, they have filing cabinets.
Well,
and
in the
first-
In the
Sewers.
boiler room, it seems like.
down
With
in
the
are they doing
secret
down there?
entrance to the boiler room.
and these
It's not like it's a secret.
They're not in the
room.
upstairs office on the ground floor. They're way down in
Do you know
some...
how hard it is to find a specific piece of paper among
Oh, yeah.
hundreds
It's a
and
crazy
hundreds and
scene.
hundreds?
Crazy scene.
I mean, this is not just this film. Films do it all the time. Also, paper, unless you store it properly.
I did wonder, actually, I said out loud, how does he know what to look for in the records? If he doesn't know El's name,
They don't.
How do you go through
in
the
comic,
files?
They don't keep the names because they have to stay anonymous at all times. It's like only
Only the
kid,
Shinigami eyes reveal it.
only the kid knows
Yes,
what
we
their
don't
name
have
is.
Shinigami eyes in
None of
this
the
movie.
teachers know.
But my point is, if you don't know a person's name, and I tell you to go find that person's records, where are you going to start looking?
Exactly.
How are you going to know
Here's
when
a
you
random
found it?
filing cabinet. Well, there was a photo, unfortunately.
Oh, vague photo. Oh, that's right.
And he's known him since he was the little kid. But still, it's really hard. And also, those were in some kind of manky basement for
Yeah.
decades.
Yeah, no, that's insane to me.
Paper is fragile.
Yeah.
Because he takes a secret entrance. It's like, oh yeah, it's hidden in here. There's a secret room.
Well-
under this
Why would they keep the
circular room.
documents down
No,
there?
but it's a secret entrance into the sewers.
It's already a secret.
Wait a second.
building. Why do they need a secret?
How old is LaKeith Stanfield? And he was like at least 7 years old when he got out of that chamber.
He looks like he's an adult in that photo.
So that place went to seed in maybe 20 years, is in that state? It seems like it's been abandoned for 100 years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Anyway.
We got to have the abandoned, creepy facility.
Yes.
We have to shove that trope in.
Really surprised we didn't get a
doesn't
wheelchair
belong,
that rolled out.
Yeah, there
in the
was
hallway.
a mutilated doll on the ground though.
Yes.
So that's something. And
And he's just cribbed it from some
Yeah.
other shit film that he's made that
Yeah.
we've never heard of.
Ryuk was there for some reason because he wanted to watch.
Unfortunately, we know now why he was there. 'cause
Well,
he was
we're
engineering.
assuming that's still not confirmed because it's all so unclear. They
You're
didn't
right.
think that deep into it.
Yeah.
I think Ryuk's just there to watch him be evil and make it more spooky.
Yes, I think you're right.
Okay, so Elle comes over to Light's house and confronts him there. They get into a physical fight with Dad and Elle. They actually get into a fight with each other. There is a hilarious moment in the manga where when Light and Elle are handcuffed to each other,
Yeah.
They like punch each other at the
Light
same time.
punches Elle and Elle kicks him in like the face at the same moment. It's really
Yeah, he
funny.
does like this weird like jump thing where he goes on his hands.
yes.
and
He does
kicks
like
him.
capoeira. or
Yes,
something
yes,
like that.
yes. It's really
And
a great
it's at
moment.
the same time.
Yeah.
And it's with his dad for some reason in this.
It's not even a capoeira fight. It's just a brawl.
Yeah.
It's very stupid.
It's like a drunken pub fight.
And Elle is completely
But
He's impotent.
impotent. Yes, he's lost all self-control.
yes,
I mean,
After Watari's gone missing.
in the comic, Elle has legendary self-control. So much so that whenever he loses it, like when he hears about Shinigami for the first time, it's a big shock to us, the reader, that anything can
yeah,
break.
yeah.
Elle's
That's right. That's
imperturbable
right. That's right. He falls out of his
calm.
chair. Yeah.
Here, Elle in this film is out of control for most of the film.
Yeah, yeah. Especially from this point. So this is the point where they're going to come in, they're going to search the house. Mia has overheard this, so she's gone upstairs and she's still taking the note.
Yep.
The next day at school, they're getting ready for this homecoming dance, I think it is, and
Yeah.
she's got a top hat for Light.
Oh yeah, this was
and she's
bad.
put a note in the hat.
It says, I have
Which is,
it.
I have the note.
Instead of
Post-it.
yelling,
Post-it note.
it's like before, as if suddenly she's decided that she can't just yell at the top of her lungs, I took the death note.
Why can't she say to him out loud, I have the notebook?
Yeah.
So right,
Why
because
is it in the bottom of the hat?
that's
Because they did
exactly
that-
what they've
they
been
did
doing
that,
the whole
like,
They're
film.
not talking
half
about
an hour
they're
ago.
not talking about murder. She could just say, I have your notebook.
Yeah.
And
Why can't you say it out
Even
loud?
then, I wouldn't have put it past her. If she had said, oh yeah, I have the... So
got the murder book.
she could have said out loud, no, I wouldn't have batted an eye if she had said out loud, oh yeah, so you know how the police got a search warrant for your house to get the murder notebook that you've been using to kill people? I have it, here it is.
Because that's exactly what they've been doing for the
Yes.
last hour.
Yes.
Why now the sudden secrecy?
Suddenly, I have the notebook. She
In
just
the
puts it on.
top hat that she gives to another dude. Another
Yeah.
guy gets the top hat at
By
some
the
point.
way, they go to this dance and nobody is dressed in a top hat. Not one person except him has the top
Which
hat
is a
and the
plot
tails.
point, which is insane.
Bizarre.
That's a plot point.
Bizarre. Okay, L is crazy. He finds out Watari is dead. I can't remember how.
He gets a phone call. He sends the team
Oh, that's right. That's right.
to the site,
Yeah.
and then they kill Watari, presumably accidentally.
Yeah.
Although they're forced to by the note.
Yes.
And then he gets the call, and he just completely goes to pieces.
Yeah. He grabs a gun. He's got a gun in his
Which we've already heard him say in that scene.
it's like
that
a
he
flag
never
on.
carries a gun.
Well, I think that's the point. I think the point is he's crossed a line now.
Yeah.
He's so angry. He is going to use a gun.
to what purpose, though?
It's supposed
don't-
to be dramatic and awesome.
Except
Like,
that-
oh, he's finally snapped.
But we don't know enough about him. The
No, of
the
course
film
we don't.
moves too quickly.
Of course we don't.
Yeah.
Of course we
Should be
don't.
3 hours long. Although I'm so glad it wasn't 3 hours long.
So he grabs his gun. He actually goes on a foot chase after Light. Light has left the dancer. There's a very stupid scene where they drive through a sign that says "Drive drive safe." It's so obvious. Don't do it. And this car chase is maybe a minute long, and like,
Why
why?
is this car chase in the film?
Don't put it in the movie. Leave it out. Okay, so finally, Light.
Mia's presented Light with her ultimatum.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Light's being followed by cops at this point.
Yes.
Or something, and they've gotten into the homecoming dance, and Mia's dancing with some other guy, and she's giving him the top hat. So the guards are watching him in the top hat, while Light runs off and does something.
Right.
Because they're so unobservant.
There's only one person
to grab the note because he needs to do Death Note business. In this case, save Watari. Except he can't save Watari because Mia, for no reason, has torn that page out of the notebook and hidden it.
No, he can't have saved Watari by this point because L's already snapped well before this, so Watari's already dead?
Wait,
No. He only dies during the dance.
Okay.
Around
Well,
the
what
time
happens
dance.
is, so as you said, the top hat switcheroo occurs, which is exactly why he's wearing that top
Because Light goes into that back room to get on the phone with Watari
Yeah.
at the dance, and he says, "Tell me the name. Tell me the
He's
name."
begging Watari, this guy an innocent, who he is exploiting to kill another innocent, L. However, he's really, really concerned that this innocent, Watari, doesn't die needlessly, so he can then go on to kill the other innocent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm throwing up my hands
Yep.
for the benefit of the listeners.
Yep.
It doesn't make any sense.
Nope. Doesn't make any sense.
Anyway, he can't find the page. Watari dies. L freaks out, grabs the gun.
Yeah, Watari's been followed for some reason by...
L sent them there.
That's what he said before.
L sent the quote-unquote New York team to fetch.
Oh, and they
Find,
killed him
protect.
for some reason.
Because the book
notebook.
said that he dies by gunshot.
Ryuk did it. Well, the book said nothing. It was
Oh,
quote-unquote
I see. Yeah,
dealer's choice.
Dealer's choice, and
right.
then Ryuk is there, and they die, and Ryuk watches him die.
So
Did
tired of talking
Ryuk
about
do
this
it?
movie.
Don't know.
So Mia presents Light with a fait accompli. She says she's written she wants the note. Light's is like Hamlet. He can't make up his mind about what he wants to do with the notebook. She's like Lady Macbeth to mix up our Shakespeare plays. And she, on the other hand, is all about murder. She says, I've written your name in the notebook. If you relinquish ownership, which is the thing we've established, the notebook can be relinquished.
Also, if you don't kill someone in 7 days or something, Ryuk takes the book away and gives it to someone else as a rule in this movie.
If you're apart from it for 7 days. I guess if you don't touch it.
Okay.
Whatever. So she says, if you relinquish me the notebook and I become the new owner, I will then burn the page and save your life. Light, sensibly, I think, doesn't believe this, it looks like. Yeah. And then he leaves. He says he'll meet her at the Ferris wheel later. He grabs the notebook. He goes to a website with lists of shady people.
Yeah.
The people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the comic as well. It's like this Kira website that people have put up there. They're posting criminals. It's like a throwaway line in the comic. It's just to show that people are worshipping me.
Well, here it's a plot point. They're putting names of people. They even have a discussion about it in this film's lame attempt at having a theme. Mia says, "Well, yeah, we should just kill those people because they're obviously bad." And Light says,
They could just be people.
They could just be people that have crossed someone that's genuinely bad and it's a false accusation. He gives the example of...
Or it's like they've had an affair and they've put them up there.
What if someone had just cheated on their girlfriend and the girlfriend put their name on? And Mia's response to that...
It's not like that.
It's quite telling. She says, what did she say? What if I cheated on you? Would you kill me? And then he says, yes. Which just shows the difference between their moralities.
It's if I cheated on you, would you kill the guy? And he's like, yeah, I killed the guy.
Yeah. So that's just Mia only cares about her own twisted sense of justice.
Yeah.
And Light only cares about getting laid.
Yeah.
So he writes all those... He goes to that website. He writes frenetically. End scene. Then the lame chase scene happens. They end up at the Ferris wheel.
There's a scene where he's being chased by L.
Yeah.
And they run through this restaurant and the dude and like the shop owner comes out the back and he's like, please stop, this man is Kira.
L says that, yeah.
Yeah, L says that, and then the dude hits him because he's like, Lord Kira.
Yeah, he's a Kira worshipper.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But during that confrontation in the alley is, I think, where Elle finally finds out about the notebook.
Well, he doesn't realize it at that point.
There's a clue.
He mentions something about a calculus book,
Okay.
which is
method
what
of
she
death.
slipped a page into.
Okay.
At this point, Light has, because he needs to be sympathetic, is trying to divest himself of the book.
Mm-hmm.
He can't do it safely because Ryuk will kill him as soon as he gives it up.
Yeah.
But I think he's come to see the notebook as a burden,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, but
one that
even
he
then-
can't rid himself of.
There's a point earlier where he's talking to Elle in the coffee shop,
Yeah.
and they're like, and Light's like, oh yeah, well, what if this Kira has decided that they don't want the book anymore and that they're just misunderstood and actually innocent? And Elle says the most logical thing in the movie, which is, you can't expect a man to kill 400 people and then claim that he's misunderstood.
Yeah. What would Kira do in that situation?
Yeah.
Kira would make him walk off a bridge. Is
Yeah.
what he says. So good. And then Light says, well, I have a problem because Kira could stop, hypothetically, but then say the power he possesses would then just go on to someone else who may be worse. So the film doesn't do enough with this. But it's kind of an interesting concept that in the early chapters of the manga Death Note, Ryuk tells Light that the users of the Death Note come to no good end.
Yeah.
That it only brings them misery and misfortune. And that's definitely happened in this film. Or did it?
Yeah.
It looks like it's happening, but the ending kind of fucks with it a bit. But this is what's happened here. It hasn't made Light happy, it's just made him...
It's ruined his life.
It's ruined his life.
It's killed him.
He
But we
feels-
didn't get the warning at the start.
No. But that, although Light dies an early death in the manga, it never really brought him misery. Instead, it brought him great personal satisfaction as he outwitted enemy after enemy and murdered thousands and thousands of people without being caught. I don't hate to give this film any credit, but I like that it's tried to engage with the concept.
It's tried.
that this thing is a corrosive, nasty object that's
for
hurting
2
you
lines
as
it
you
tried.
use it.
Okay, can we talk about the Ferris wheel scene?
Yes, please,
Jesus Christ.
please.
Okay, so basically, I don't know.
They've agreed to meet at this Ferris wheel.
There's a whole chain of events in the Ferris wheel where we realize that Mia has betrayed him, etc. She's written his name in the book.
That was before. That was back at the dance, but go on.
Oh, did she reveal that she wrote
At
his
the
name in the
dance.
book at the
Yeah.
dance? Okay.
And then, at the Ferris wheel, he reveals he's written her name.
Right,
in the
okay,
book.
okay, whatever.
Except, he's written it in a way which has never been established as being possible. He's written an if-then kind of like line order.
Oh.
Yeah.
If Mia takes the Death Note off me, then she will die.
Oh.
It's never been established that
No.
that's something you can do with
That's
the Death
not a
Note.
thing at all that you can do in the
Right.
comic.
Huh. Bizarre. Okay. Anyway, the Ferris wheel falls over. It looks like Ryuk is using telekinesis
Yeah,
to
I
pull it down.
did not
So
think it was
could
telekinesis.
be that, as Ashwin said, it could be that he's just doing
what
dramatic
I think-
gestures.
Maybe
He's
so,
conducting it.
but if so, I mean, then Wingard is an idiot here because when you have a supernatural character, you don't have them do stuff like that while the Ferris wheel's falling over because you'll confuse your audience about what's happening.
Ryuk would do that.
In the comic he would
And
because
this-
he's a jokester in the comic,
Yeah.
but in the film he's not.
He's not. He's like...
I have to go with Dad on this one. I think.
Yeah,
that
no,
Ryuk-
I agree, but I think... No, I agree. I think Wingard is an idiot.
That's something we can all
I
agree
think
on.
that's exactly what he's done. I think you're right. I think what'd you say? If he's done that, he's an idiot. He's totally an idiot.
Yeah.
Because I think in my head the way it works in this movie is you write it down in the book. Ryuk's like, okay, does something with his mind. He's like, okay, it's decided.
Okay.
They're gonna die now.
Okay.
And now it's already all preordained, and Ryuk's just
Okay.
pretending to do it because he knows what's going to happen, and he's doing.
My problem with
waving his
him
hands.
waving his hands around at the Ferris wheel is that we don't see him wave his hand around at the cars or the basketball.
agree.
The
I
first
think it's
kill,
ridiculous.
Or when the guy's machine gun Watari down in the orphanage, he doesn't wave
which
his
is
hands
which is
around.
why I think he's being an idiot and just flailing his arms around, pretending to be a conductor, like you said, Jordan.
He should have, in that case, should have jumped up and down with joy or something like that, or clasped his hands or something like that. It would have made more sense than to make it look like he's pulling down. Now, here's the other thing that happens is that page that we mentioned falls out of the book, the one that's got
Flitter flatters down into the
Light's
fire.
Light's
name
name
and
on it.
falls into the fire. And we learn at the end of the movie that he had written that the page falls into the fire. So he can also control inanimate objects
Yeah.
by writing it in the book. He could write a tree falls down
In the woods.
In the woods.
when there's no one to hear it.
Yeah.
And it would fall down? So it applies to things, not just people?
It's hard to say.
Well, we have to
I
know the
agree
true
with you
name.
actually.
We've got a
bit-
Wizard of
it's a
Oz
bit too far
situation.
because he writes that Mia tears it out of the book
And it falls
and then
into
drops
fire.
it into fire. Drops it into fire.
Drops it into
However, that sounds physically impossible because she's falling at the time. How could she drop it into fire when she's falling? The only way it could possibly happen is if you could
I thought it was
control...
she tears out the page with Light Yagami's, with Light Turner's name on it, and it falls into fire.
I think you're right. I think you guys are both right. You could have, in the traditional rules of the Death Note, you could have had Mia could have pulled out the page from the book, but she couldn't have dropped it into fire that she couldn't see or reach. So she would have just dropped it and then she would have died of a heart attack.
Yeah.
But here, as you said, the Death Note can somehow control the path of the...
Yeah. When I saw it before, I assumed he was just lucky. Like, what luck?
Oh, it's hard to say. I mean, you
I
write in the
didn't- I
Death
didn't-
Note that people die in a car crash and a car always appears... The person who you're controlling
they're
doesn't...
human. They're human actors.
That's causing the death. It's always causing the death.
That's right.
The note falling
The note
into the
falling into
fire
fire
has
does not
nothing,
cause a death.
has
Good
nothing
point.
to do with causing someone to die.
We are moving the goalpost, but I actually agree. Yeah, it didn't sit right with me either.
Okay, so Light survives the fall because he's written...
Well, we think he's dead.
Oh yeah, we think he's dead, but he's actually in a coma. And he's
We get the
written a
classic-
bunch of things about those criminals that he found on the website so that they recover his notebook.
Well, what?
And they recover
getting
him from the
ahead of ourselves.
water.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. The Ferris wheel collapses. Mia falls to her death, drops the paper in the fire. Light falls into the water.
Yep, we get the classic undershot. His arms are
Yep.
out forwards. He's
Yep.
falling in. He sinks slowly.
And we also see the book fall in next to him. Scene ends. The next scene we see Elle is disgraced
Yeah.
because
Yes, this is my favorite scene in the entire movie because this proves that it's a Breaking Bad spin-off.
Because of the...
please
Because
continue.
the head of the police or whatever it is that's interviewing Elle, who's like, "You're disgraced," is the cop, is the police chief, he's Hank's police chief in Breaking Bad.
Oh my God.
It's the same actor.
They're in the same universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
That also
God, imagine if
that
Walter
also
White
has
had
a
got a
scene
Death Note.
where he interrogates Hank about killing the cartel guys in the parking lot. They have like that big talk about it in that room. It's the exact same scene, except one has Hank and one has LaKeith Stanfield.
That's brilliant.
So it's also in the Fast and Furious universe because of Shea Whigham, so...
Well, his nose isn't broken.
Oh, that's right.
I love this theory. As far as I'm concerned, there is a Death Note rattling around in Breaking Bad universe.
Yep.
And imagine if Walter White found a Death Note.
Yeah.
I want to read that
Yeah.
spin-off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, worst choice Walter absolutely would be pretty wild.
Oh, God.
No, because that would imply it could be implied that someone was going around doing the Light Yagami thing, going through all the names. They just happened to hit Gustavo Fring.
Gustavo Fring blows up in an explosion.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay, so he actually is in a coma, and he's woken up. And
We've seen someone collect the Death Note.
Someone brings him Death Note.
Elle's in disgrace because people have continued to die
Yeah.
while Light is in a coma. So
Yeah.
it can't possibly have been Light. The police chief says, "What, is he killing people from that coma?
Okay, this is another.
Why couldn't he kill people from that coma? How exactly does the killing people power work? They don't
Yeah.
know how it works. He could be killing people from a coma. Whatever, man. Doesn't matter. Anyway, Elle's humiliated, leaves. Then we see the same person that picked up the Death Note comes in, puts the Death Note on Light's chest.
Okay, this is insane. So he recovers the Death Note, blah blah blah, whatever.
At that moment, he wakes up,
Okay.
and it turns out he engineered everything.
No, okay. He wakes up. The craziest part of the movie is when he wakes up to been in a coma for 2 days. He opens his eyes. There's no nurses or anything. He's in a dingy hospital.
what?
The room's
Why
dark.
is he under surveillance?
His dad knocks on the door. Says, "Can I come into his son that he thinks is comatose?"
Why would you knock on the door when your
He
son's
knocks
in a
on the
coma?
door.
Oh, so good. You're right.
That's the
That's why I didn't know what was going on. I thought he was. I've written in my notes. I thought he was in a coma.
Yeah.
Question mark.
He was in a coma because it's revealed 2 minutes later that part of the thing where he orchestrated the whole thing so that he didn't die was that he was in a coma for 2 days. But his dad comes in, knocks on the door. He thinks he's still comatose. All he knows he's going to be in a coma for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a date. Oh yeah, he's gonna wake up in 20 minutes. I'm gonna go knock on
Did
the door.
he schedule his wake up?
Yes. He said he's in a
to the
he's
minute,
comatose for 2
apparently.
How can he
days.
do that?
Well-
Did he write his own death and then tear out that page and burn it before he
No,
died?
he okay, so he orchestrated it to the minute apparently, right
Okay.
when the guy was going to place it on his chest because that's when he woke up. But what actually happened was in that scene earlier where we saw him looking at that 4chan website
Okay.
and looking at the names, it did look like 4chan.
It totally looks like Fortune.
Looking at the names of all of the people all of the villainous actors that various people had uploaded to this Kira website. He found one who was a doctor and who was accused of molesting some of his patients. And he said that doctor will go to the Ferris wheel at this time on this night. He will find Light Turner on the shore of the
resuscitate
river.
him.
He will resuscitate him with his medical expertise. He will take him to a nearby hospital. And at that hospital, he will then use his quote-unquote medical connections to put him in a coma. A medical coma.
Okay.
So, for 2 days. Meanwhile,
Okay.
he's also compelled some other guy, a pedophile, to find the death note, take it, use it 4 times, bring it to Light's hospital bed, place it on Light's chest, at which point Light will come out of the medical coma the induced coma into which he's been placed. The doctor will throw himself off the building of the hospital, the roof of the hospital. The FedEx driver will asphyxiate himself in his car,
Yeah.
and Light will wake up. And that's exactly what happens.
Okay. Dad comes in. Dad realizes that the first kill was not actually the hostage guy, but the
Murder of his wife.
Yeah.
Light's mother.
And he realizes it was Light all along.
So,
was
which
the
means he's
killer.
smarter than L.
Yeah, he's smarter than L. Although L had kind of figured it out. This, by the way, during this whole sequence, and now L is meanwhile trying to get that page of the notebook that was in the calculus book.
Yeah.
And he finds it, and it seems like he's going to write Light's name in it. We're getting Air Supply's Power of Love playing over the soundtrack
Why?
at this whole sequence.
Doesn't work.
And he's considering writing. He's so distraught. Elle is so distraught. He's
Because he's
thinking
cracked.
He's
He's
going to write
completely-
Light Turner's name in the page to kill him. And then Ryuk basically is looking on from behind the curtain of the hospital room. I don't know why he needs to hide since no one can see him anyway, but
It's creepy.
he's laughing and saying humans are so interesting.
Yeah.
And then we cut to credits.
No, hold on, because Light's, because his dad's like, so it really was you. You really were Kira. And then Light's like, do you want to know how I did it? Doesn't bring up a notebook. Just says to the audience how he orchestrated the whole thing. He doesn't explain to his dad, yeah, I got this murder notebook. I'm hiding it under my pillow. Why is he hiding it under his pillow?
You're right. He didn't tell his dad anything. He just told us stuff.
Yeah.
Cut
Annoying.
to credits, which includes bloopers and behind the scenes special effects
Yeah, we have a
shots.
shot of her. We have a shot of Mia falling over a green screen.
And we get the motion capture bits, and we even get to see Willem Dafoe with the headgear on as they're
cool.
recording his face. Is it cool to have this at the end of a movie where you've tried to set a
Weird.
tone?
It's like Jackie.
Just
It's
throw it
like
every-
it's like
to have
Jackie Chan.
blooper. There's a literal bloopers at the end credits.
Yeah.
I've never seen a horror movie
With bloopers?
that had bloopers and then
Kind of
show us
undermines the
and
tone,
then
you're right.
deflate the special effects that you've helped to build up by showing us how it was done.
Yeah, good point.
Bizarre.
They just thrown everything in this film, haven't they?
Yeah.
It's just
They're
everything.
trying to make it lighthearted because it's such a dark story.
By the way, there's the credit is based on Death Note by Tsugumi Ohba and Takeshi Obata in Shonen
In
Jump.
Shonen Jump, I saw
Is
that.
what the credit actually reads as.
Interesting. And that we've seen that before, I think. Maybe in the Dragon
Maybe-
Ball.
Okay, maybe, yeah.
It might be a requirement of
Right,
the
of Shonen
production
Jump.
of Shonen Jump to have that in there.
And by the way, they're working on a new TV series.
Jesus Christ.
Netflix.
Yeah, I heard that sequels were in the works for this. Originally,
How?
they'd hoped to make 3 films. Well, you know, Netflix is just a big money pit. But I doubt we'll get them.
No.
They were talking about how
No,
they
the
were getting-
last news I heard was about this TV series, and that was pretty recently, the last
That
couple
makes
months.
sense. That makes sense. All right, trivia.
Okay, let's-
Should we talk about the comic a little bit? We haven't talked about the comic
Oh,
at all.
we usually do it at the start.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we can talk about it now. Please go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. It's one of my favorites ever. It's one
Okay.
of the best manga. It's top 3 for me.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it so much. It's the fourth time I've read it. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know how much you've already talked about it, so I can't just...
Well, we've kind of covered most of the plot of it.
I don't know. I love all of it. I love how, what's her face? Ray Penber's fiance doesn't come back. It's the biggest twist.
We talked about that.
Biggest twist in the entire comic is that she doesn't come back to life.
Yeah.
No, it's great. I think Dad thinks it falls off at Yotsuba. I disagree.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
No, he liked the Yotsuba stuff.
I think
Jordan liked it.
there's a massive tonal shift, which is the other thing. When he gets the notebook back,
Yeah.
because it's like, for the whole thing, it's morally ambiguous,
Yeah.
because it was handed to a younger audience. It's morally ambiguous when you get, it's kind of, he's like a good guy now once he lost it. He's like,
Yes.
I remember the first time I read it, I was like, oh, is he going to be good when he gets it again? Is he going to turn into a good guy? Is he going to be bad again?
Yeah.
You get that half panel of him totally evil.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just, the whole thing
just as
drops,
planned.
and it's so upsetting.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. Yeah, he's like
Yeah.
exactly as planned, and then it's miserable. It's still incredible, but it's still just really tragic.
Yes.
From then on, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think one of the best things about it is the ending is completely rock solid. It's not left ambiguous,
Yes.
which is great because a lot of shonen manga, something that they do is that they are like, oh yeah, we defeated the big bad guy. Now we're going to go off on more adventures. The end.
I will say that Ohba said, so in the final confrontation, Light says, how do you know that book isn't fake? Maybe I switched it. And Ohba said that could be true. It might not be true, it might be true. So there's a potential for a Death Note to still be out there.
Oh, yeah. That seemed like... I reread those... Well, I mean, who am I to argue with Ohba?
Yeah.
But it did seem like Light was just desperately trying to say anything.
It does sound desperate, but Ohba does say that it potentially he could have been telling the truth in that moment.
Well, in any case, the story is done.
Yes.
The story is totally, completely done. There's no ifs and buts about it, really. Every other shonen manga, they end, it's like, oh, well, now we're going to go off on more adventures, and we're going to have fun, but you're not going to get to see any of it.
Shonen Jump's
It's
like,
great.
you better leave a room
then-
for a sequel here,
Yes.
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah. No, but the movie didn't do that. The movie kept it ambiguous because we didn't see if
because we don't know if L wrote Light's
down his name or not. We don't know what happens to Light. We don't know if he dies. We don't know if he goes to prison. We don't know if Ryuk kills him.
You mean, in the comic, Light's father is the kind of the beacon of morality.
Yes.
He never...
It's not L.
No, L can be quite ruthless.
Yeah, L's just there to catch the dude.
Here, I was a bit discomforted that Light might have been persuading his father to accept his point of view. That
in this version. Yeah.
It felt wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's bad.
Well, he's
but it
not
was-
the beacon. They don't have that relationship.
No.
We don't have...
They're antagonistic.
Yes, exactly.
Well, now they're reconciled over their mutual love of murder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, my other absolute favorite things about the comic, apart from Matsuda, is the Shinigami and the Shinigami designs and
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
Especially because they all look so cool.
Yeah.
Ryuk looks awesome. Rem looks awesome.
Yep.
My favorite ones are there's the one that wears like the Native American headdress, which looks
Yes.
so cool.
That guy that says he's going to come down to Earth and then never does.
Yeah. That guy's awesome. Ammonia Justin Biandajuice, or whatever his name is.
Yes.
There's a guy named Ammonia Justin who's like a brass metal skeleton.
Yeah.
He's awesome. They all look so cool.
There's the one that's even dumber than Ryuk that has... He kind of looks like an elder thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Because he has the kind of tentacle arms that an elder thing does.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Kind of shaped like a barrel, a bit like an elder thing, although it doesn't have
What's that? Saito?
Yeah, Saito.
Yeah, and
that's it.
Gellus or Jealous, however it's said.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, poor old Jealous. Yeah. Well, I think we can have an early comics vote. I think we're all
Incredible.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So it's a masterpiece.
Yeah. All right.
It's really excellent.
All right, let's get our trivia.
A slight digression now. I don't have a lot of trivia, so we'll burn through this.
Okay.
So this cost $40 million to make.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Where is that money? It's not on screen.
Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
Another house for Willem
The
Dafoe.
rights?
Yeah. No.
I don't know. No, it wouldn't have been the rights. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know where that money went. And of course, we have no box office figures.
Yeah.
Because
Netflix.
Netflix doesn't release them, or didn't release viewership figures at this point as well in 2017. So that's a big mystery. So as we just said, Warner Brothers was the original Western owner of the rights.
Okay.
Because they had distributed the 2 Japanese movies.
Okay.
I didn't get into this when we talked about them, but those movies have an enormous list of producers, production companies, distribution companies, television companies, something like 20 or 25 on the Wikipedia page.
Okay.
It's just astonishing how many people are involved in making those 2 movies. Warner Brothers, presumably through this connection, acquired the rights around 2008, 2009.
Okay.
At that point, the director that was attached to the project was Shane Black, who has
Wow. Wowie zowie.
Yeah, he has a storied association with comic book movies, having been the writer-director of Iron Man 3.
Yes.
He's also been involved with the Predator franchise.
Yeah. As an actor and a writer.
That's right. He was in the original Predator movie.
He was in Predator,
Yeah, as an actor. And then he later wrote, I think, The Predator.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, as I said, he was originally attached to direct.
Odd choice, though, because he's really more of a comedic approach. Like, I think of, like, The Nice Guys or Kiss Kiss Bang Bang or movies like that.
Yeah, but this was before...
Oh, did he make The Nice Guys?
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, strange. And Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Well, he was attached before he did his Iron Man 3 thing as well, which is obviously not a comedy, so go figure. However, he eventually that fell by the wayside. He did note he gave an interview in 2011, he noted that he was pushing back against studio interference even at that point.
Okay.
Warner Brothers wanted Light to have a background where a childhood friend of his was murdered, and he wanted to get revenge.
Okay.
So it was going to be a revenge story.
Okay.
And also they wanted to get rid of the Shinigami.
Boring. Boring.
These weird things.
Well, I used to remember, I used to hear stories that when they were pitching the Doctor Strange movie back in the 80s or 90s, the studio execs would be like, does it have to have magic in it?
Is that not his whole thing?
Idiots.
Yeah.
Alright, by 2015 he was out.
Okay.
Shane Black. And Adam Wingard was now attached. At that point, Warner Brothers started winding down some of its films, comic book films especially, I think because of the failure of Dawn of Justice.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And basically told Wingard that he could shop around the rights, which Wingard promptly did.
Okay.
Netflix bought the rights.
Okay.
Filming started later that year, I think, or actually, no, in 2016. It was filmed in British Columbia.
Yes.
We love a Canadian reference.
I picked that up because during the montage when you hear all the people talking about Kira and what Kira's actions in the world and Kira's good, Kira's bad, one of the radio pundits is the Cancer Man from X-Files.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's how I noticed.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he's in there for...
Cigarette smoking man.
Yeah, less than a minute. Less than
awesome.
20 seconds, I'd say. And then it's like, this must have been shot in Canada. Anyway,
It
go
was
ahead.
indeed well spotted, and we love a Canadian reference here on Comic Book Movie Oblivion. Vancouver, of course, standing in for Seattle.
Yep, okay.
That's not Seattle in the opening shot? Or is
In
that
the opening shot,
Yeah, because they're using stock footage.
The Space Needles there and there.
When they're filming, though, like the street stuff, that's Vancouver.
Okay.
Similar enough to Seattle, apparently.
Yeah, weather-wise especially.
Brilliant. There was some controversy around the use of footage when we're seeing Kira. We have that montage, the make-out montage.
Okay.
There's footage of a train crash.
Okay.
Which is footage of an actual train crash that occurred in 2010. Right. It was the most serious train crash in the history of Belgium.
Wow.
Killed 19 people.
Okay.
They apparently used it without permission.
Wow.
Boy.
That is nasty. Now this movie's gone just from bad to being immoral.
Yes. That's right. That's right. It would be immoral of us not to hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I found an article in the BBC with, it's like survivors of the crash complaining.
Oh my God.
Dodgy.
Victims' families, like, oh my God.
Yeah. And in maybe good news, Adam Wingard deleted his Twitter as a result of the backlash he received from hardcore Death Note fans.
Yeah,
after this film. Well, Death Note fans.
How about people who watch Death Note?
People who had heard of Death Note didn't like this film, trolled him endlessly on Twitter, and he deleted it late 2017.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's all we have for trivia.
Okay.
We've done our comic vote.
Okay.
Film.
Don't make me laugh.
This is really one of the all-time stinkers we've done on this podcast.
Yeah. It wasn't even funny.
No,
it wasn't
even
like
funny.
Dragon Ball Evolution. There was no aspect of this that was funny.
It wasn't like Veronica. There's no.
It's just a bore.
There was no level of enjoyment
Shocking,
in
it
it.
just
A
sucked.
derivative bore.
Yeah.
It was a bit like Virus in that respect.
Yeah. It just didn't have its own internal consistency in any way.
Even the stuff. Yeah, the rule, the big appeal, the idea of a supernatural object with very prescriptive rules that you have to work out.
Mhm.
No, it's just written in the notebook. There was a rule that said if you tear out a page in the notebook, you can use it as if you had the whole book. That's something Light has to spend ages exploring.
Yeah.
There's chapters of him experimenting with it.
Even also, when we do bad movies, usually we like the good actors that are in those bad movies, like Jamie Lee Curtis or
Donald Sutherland.
Yeah, Donald Sutherland. But here, it's
LaKeith
even
Stanfield or Willem
LaKeith,
Dafoe.
who I would look forward to, was bad in this. Willem Dafoe just doing Green Goblin again was disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could have been the Green Goblin, because we never see Ryuk.
Yep.
That's another baffling choice. Why don't we ever see... As you said, the design of the Shinigami is so iconic.
Yeah, and they changed it. You can tell it doesn't look like Ryuk. He
True.
just looks like a monster.
You can barely tell, because he's
Yeah.
always in shadow.
He's in the shadow.
All we see is
He's
his
in
red
shadow.
eyes most of the time, and his sort of spines.
And an outline of his mouth.
Really, really disappointing. So
He's out in the open in the
a
comic.
slightly different suit.
In the comic, he's just around. He's just out in the
Yeah.
open. It's just like no one else can see him.
even things that worked, like the ending, I suppose. The post facto reveal of how he organized his own escape. It just feels derivative. That feels it feels like The Usual Suspects or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of winds down. When the credits started rolling, is that it?
Yeah.
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 But he was still talking to his dad.
We had 20 minutes left, and I asked Dad how much was left, and he's like, 20 minutes. I thought we were halfway through. This is at the prom scene, or whatever it is.
Now this one, everyone's just yelling at one another.
Yeah.
The kids are yelling at one another. Angsty teens. I don't think of angst.
Even angsty adult. There's
Angsty
so many
adults.
contradictions between L and Dad or Light and Dad. Yeah.
Yep. Ashwin, what did you think of Angst Note starring White Yagami?
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's not. He's supposed to be boring. He's supposed to be the smartest kid in Japan. He's supposed to be boring. He's supposed to go home every day and do his homework, and he's supposed to be happy about it.
Yeah.
And he's really not. He's supposed to be smart. He's not smart.
Well, we're straying into adaptation. So would you like to...
Okay, so this
Do
is
you even need to ask?
this is
we'll let Kumar go first.
this is really interesting because they've changed. I've started to realize, this is the thing we grapple with every week, or at least I grapple with, is I've started to realize that you have to change the plot because you've only got 2 hours. But you should try to retain the tone or the themes, which were things that were important to the authors. And they've really jettisoned those, but also in this time, especially in terms of plot as well, which is something which I'm starting to let go of, they've changed things, but what's the justification for any of those changes? Why do you think that the version you made in this movie is better than what was in the source material? Why do you think you're improving it by these changes? I can't think of a single thing they changed that is better.
Yeah. You don't make a successful adaptation of Death Note by turning it into generic horror movie.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll tell you what they've done. They've taken everything great about Death Note.
Yeah.
They've taken all the best moments,
Yeah.
put it into this movie, and taken out everything that made those moments great.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
Because the coffee shop
Yep.
scene is a prime example.
Yeah.
One of the best scenes in the comic. They're sitting there. There's pages and pages of just walls of text,
Yes.
of just internal monologue.
Thinking at one another, banquet scenes.
Thinking. In the movie, he jumps in, you're Kira. They're yelling at each other.
Yes.
They're arguing.
Yes.
There's no argument in the comic. It's just like they've taken the best part of... They've taken that scene as like, there's a coffee shop scene, so you have to have a coffee shop scene.
We're going to improve it by making them be antagonistic and loud at each other.
If people aren't... You can imagine some suit in the background saying, if people aren't yelling,
Yeah.
drama isn't happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one does
So
anything...
I think it's...
generic. Everyone's acting like idiots, the way people
Yes.
act in horror movies.
Yeah.
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 Don't go there. No one does anything clever because, as Ashwin said right back at the start, you can't write a clever character if you're not clever yourself. And we've got bizarre vignettes where a super soldier program in an abandoned orphanage.
Yeah.
The haunting of Ryuk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flicking off the lights and poltergeisting marbles around the place. That's not how you adapt Death
He
Note.
eats apples. He barely eats the apples.
So he doesn't
leaves the
finish.
core.
He leaves the core. He eats the core. He's supposed to eat
He's
the
supposed
core.
to eat the core, yeah.
So they violated the plot, the themes, and the tone, and they've even changed the genre of the thing because they had so little faith in the source material, so much just hostility towards the source material, it seems like to me. It seems like they didn't like it. They hated the comic. They're like, we have to adapt this thing.
We have to fix it. That's what they
Excellent.
thought.
A very pithy summary, Kumar.
Okay.
And now I can't wait to tell you what Obata and Ohba themselves
This will be good. This will be great.
prepare to be disappointed.
I think I can guess they're going to be positive because they always are.
Obata, the artist. Thanks to the beautiful imagery and the thrilling direction by Adam Wingard, the movie is magnificent A-level thriller masterpiece. Characters are all faithful to satisfying their desires. I've always wanted to write a Death Note like this as well. Through Netflix, it will reach a global audience, so I hope that the people around the world who didn't know about Death Note will get a chance to discover and enjoy it. Please make out the check to Takeshi Obata. Oh wait, no, we didn't need.
No, what's happened is Adam Wingard has written Obata's name in his Death Note and written that he makes nice comments about the movie before he dies.
Oh yeah. No, that's so sarcastic though. That's incredible, really.
I hope that it's sarcastic. All right, next up, Ohba, Tsugumi Ohba, the writer.
Okay.
It exceeded my expectations.
Well, that's possible.
Yeah.
That is possible.
Oh, well, there was a high level of quality, sophistication, and attention to every detail.
Oh yeah.
This is like that scene in The Simpsons where Homer's brother asks his employees to call back and say the exact opposite of everything they just said about Homer. This is what a Hollywood Death Note movie should be, maybe. Personally, I was engrossed with the ending. In a good way, it both followed and diverged from the original work, so the film can be enjoyed, of course, by not only the fans, but also by a much larger and wider audience.
They're company men. That's all I'll say about that.
The fans that he mentions did not agree with him.
Okay, please like, rate, review, subscribe. Please join us on Facebook. Please join us on Instagram. Please join our Patreon at patreon.com/comicbookmovieoblivion, all one word. We do need help with the hosting fees, especially because these episodes are running along.
We keep recording these 2-hour-long episodes. We're going to have to pay for the hosting.
What am I forgetting in there? Have I covered them all?
You've done Instagram?
Yes, I did all those.
You did Twitter?
Oh, no, yeah, okay. You can reach us through Twitter. You can DM me.
Mm-hmm.
You can email us at the email address in the show notes.
Very good.
Or you can leave comments wherever. Whatever your forum is. And also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, especially because now I can actually look at those.
Brilliant.
Okay, next week we'll do The Mask with Jim Carrey from the mid-90s. I think it was, I can't remember, it was 94, 5, 6, somewhere in there. We'll sort that all out. We'll read the first 2 series.
Okay.
At the most. So it's about 8 issues, and that was all I think that was out at the time that the movie came out.
Exciting. So long, Ashman. See you next time.
Yep. I'll be leaving you now, much like Ray Pember's fiance did.
Oh.
Never to return. Let's hope.